Mr. Wallace attending today? I'm sorry? This morning? Okay. Then I guess we can get started. I will call the meeting to order for the Lincoln County Board of County Commissioners, June 3rd, 2019. If you'd like to join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. We have a little baby flag over here. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay. We have, this is from the Driscoll Law Office, which I assume is pertaining to the block pit. We had closed the pit and they had said earlier they were unsatisfied, and we responded by saying that we were going to make sure that the state comes in and does their traditional approval of the work when we reclaim the pit. So I don't know that that's happened yet, but this is a new response. Dear gentlemen, this will respond to your February 19th, 2019 letter. This is dated May 23rd. Excuse me. Letter to my office regarding the reclamation of the gravel pit heretofore located on the above property. My clients have advised me that they desire the gravel pit be reclaimed as set forth in the reclamation plan initially filed with the state of Kansas. As you are aware, the initial reclamation plan stated that the subject property would be reclaimed to farmland. It is apparent that Lincoln County does not intend on complying with the initial reclamation plan. I have spoken with Scott Carlson with the State of Kansas Conservation Commission Land Reclamation Section, who advised he had been to Lincoln County this past spring. He advised that he did not approve the project at that time since the native grass was not growing. I advised Mr. Carlson that the family landowners wanted the initial reclamation plan followed so that the subject property could be restored to its former farmland use in connection with the surrounding acreage. Consequently, it would be appreciated if the topsoil that was initially removed would be replaced and the subject property reclaimed to its prior farmland use in conjunction with the reclamation plan that was filed with the state of Kansas. You want to read that?
Yeah,
separately?
look it over.
So, I guess we will need to speak with the highway department and see exactly what happened, because I was under the impression we did not have them out, and this letter states that the state had already been there. I don't know that that happened. And I believe Michael O'Hare did bring us the original reclamation plan, and we'll have to read that again. I have another piece of correspondence, excuse me, I'm scratchy throat today. Dear Commissioners, this is from Corey Ool Construction and Roofing. It's with an address there on it. Dear Commissioners, my wife and I are starting a new home on Bison Drive, 1.5 miles west of the Sylvan Blacktop. We would like to have the half-mile west of the intersection at Jim and Mullany Cherries on Bison Drive shaped and gravelled, or at least have sand laid after the road is shaped. The road is currently a dirt road. One or more of the culverts may also need addressed. We would like to start as soon as possible on our project, but weather is a big factor in everything we do, as the road is impassable even after the smallest of rains. Thank you, Corey Gould. He did send that to me. That's in my district, so I brought it as a piece of correspondence for today. And we have the minutes from May 28th, 2019. Let's see. We extended the local disaster declaration. We had bills from Lincoln Park Manor submitted. The 2020 Fair Board budget request from same as last year, and the transportation bus budget. We approved correspondence with the Kansas State Historical Society accepting the grant award, which is for the assessment to be done in the courthouse. Cynthia Nelson provided information from the Silver-haired legislature. Kelly Larson introduced a countywide healthy living master plan committee and presented the plan. We approved that. I'm sorry, I should have qualified. This was our evening meeting that we had. So those were the only 2 items on the agenda. And then the City of Sylvan Grove representatives inquired about the status of purchasing one of the county's motor graders. And Commissioner Lohman related that he is drafting correspondence to John Grace regarding questions we had about the current nursing home issues. And then we had public comment. There's a big paragraph on what was said. Yeah, Don Harlow put in a disclaimer that comments were not necessarily made in the order I listed. An attempt was made to record subject matters that were directed to the board. Attendees participated in conversations regarding the stated subject matters. However, I do not make a practice of recording conversations. I suggest that we strike the entire public comment section. Personally, I don't see that it does any good for the public, but if someone wants to observe those conversations, they are online via video. Dawn, I feel like just by you putting it in there, it potentially has a negative backlash on you for you trying to consolidate things that individuals came and said during an open session. I don't know how you feel about that. I mean, I appreciate you trying to put in the topics. Maybe if we did a topic list, I don't feel comfortable with you saying that so-and-so said this or that.
Technically, probably what you should have had done was a little bit more formal process where people came up to a podium, announced who they were, stated what they wanted, and you had a time limit because it went a little erratic, honestly. And then at that point in time, I believe other counties record everything that is brought forth to the board, and I feel like it was brought forth to the board, but I really don't know. I've not taken minutes in this mannerism before.
No, I understand that,
So,
but I mean, my concern is it's kind of for you to put down on paper. They're not quotes, so I would say we could list the subject matter. If you wanted to list the speaker and the subject matter, that would be fine too.
That's, I don't know what I do.
I think it's fine the way it is.
Okay.
She's just referencing, we had a, not the normal commissioner meeting, we had more of an open forum meeting, which is okay, but she's just stating the conversation at the county commission board meeting. So I think it's good to have it in the minutes. And maybe.
Well, just for example, I'm going to pull this one out. It says that Larry Doe disagrees with how the wind farm money is saved. Does not like how the money, you don't have an is in there, is given to the schools. Or how how the money given to the schools is, excuse me, my fault, based on the location of the wind towers, and does not believe that the county employees are taxing citizens equitably. He questioned. He didn't say, I don't believe that the county employees are taxing us. That wasn't stated. So there's where I'm saying there's a discrepancy there. Basically, that's saying that he made an accusation when he did have the question. He said, are we being treated fairly? That was his exact quote, but you have to listen to the video to know. So I would rather see a list of speakers and subjects. Subject matter would be Larry Doe, wind farm money, taxing equitably, or equitable taxing. We can leave it. I know, it's not your fault. It was experimental. We had an open session where we just allowed people to comment, and then we responded, and we went back and forth. It was at least an hour and a half.
I think it's fine in there. It's just minutes. It's not misquoting Larry Doe. He did disagree. He had an issue with, he thought he was paying more taxes than someone else, and that's what he said there.
Well, they changed it, so obviously he was paying more taxes than someone else on the same vehicle because it got changed for him. So who do we say? Do we say that he believes that it wasn't done, or do we say Larry Doe reported that his taxes were changed after he questioned his tax rate versus someone else's on the same vehicle? How do you report that?
That's what Don listed here.
But it doesn't say that he got his taxes reduced because he questioned it and they found out that someone else had the same vehicle and was paying less.
Yeah, but Don's just summarizing it by saying he does not believe the county employees are taxing citizens equitably. So she summarized this whole thing. Yeah, is it specific in detail? No. But when we have an open forum and 10 people are talking at once, she has no way to record this stuff accurately. So you got a summarization, in my opinion, here. With that, we can take off all them public comments then.
That was my first comment. But...
Well, if we ever do this again, we'll remember that we should have a person come up here and talk for 5 minutes, and then the next person, then the next person. Instead of have a free-for-all. And I'm not against open conversation, but it's impossible for Don to record it, and now we're getting this nitpicking on it because of this report. So next time we will, I don't care what you're gonna do, remove the whole public comments then? I think it's fine in there. It just shows what those comments was. 10 years from now, we can look back and see what we were talking about that night. It doesn't misquote Larry Doe or insinuate or, put any negative light on him or any of these people. So what do you want to do?
We can leave it. I think it's a good lesson learned for next time.
And it's good. It just has the information. We had an open forum, which is fine again, but it's impossible for Dawn to record that.
I know that.
Yeah.
And it's not fair to put the onus on her to accurately portray what someone said or did not say, especially without a direct quote.
Right.
It's one thing if you're directly quoting someone, it's another if you're trying to summarize the intent of their...
And like you said, we have the video,
Yeah.
so if anybody really wants to get specific what happened that night, they'll go back to the video.
But I would like one thing added then. If we're going to leave it, what I want added is that the board informed Mr. Cochran that the board put itself on the license, because that has now come into question. Apparently there's an accusation that I personally am the current EMS interim director, which is not true.
We could add that.
We need to say...
I'd say the board, because it's in your other minutes, but the board is on, but they needed 1 point of contact, so I told them the chairperson.
That's
It'd be
fine.
a good point.
That's fine.
Yeah.
But it's, I have it here. I have some more correspondence.
Okay, should I just add it like as a parenthesis item? Or-
Yes, please. Just that we informed him, because he was questioning, he basically said we had 7 days. He had resigned his position, and he was questioning how we were going to continue without, and
The director.
you're right. And so we have put the board, the Lincoln County Board of County Commissioners is now on the license for the EMS with the state, and we do need to follow up with these other licenses. So if you'd add that to that public comment section, I would be satisfied, and then I would entertain a motion to approve as correct.
I'll make a motion to approve both of these minutes. How about that, the May 28th? Well, we haven't done the 31st yet, have we? I'm sorry.
Yeah, just do
I'll just make a motion for the corrected, what Alexis just asked for to add,
20.
the part about the commission being on the license. And make a motion to approve the May 28th, 2019 minutes.
I'll second. Is there any further discussion? If not, those in favor, vote aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. And then May 31st, we had our end of the month meeting, and
Paid the bills.
yes, I reported that I received an email from our public works director that gave me a selling price of our 1994 Cat motor grader that the city of Sylvan was inquiring about, and the price was for $15,000. So it was moved and approved to sell that piece of equipment to Sylvan Grove. And
I think we'll plan on selling their old one, right?
we have not decided
Oh, we
that
haven't.
at the time, at this
Okay.
time, but
Yeah, we talked about it, we haven't decided.
there's a potential that Sylvan will give us their old piece of equipment in order to combine it with other equipment that we may be selling on Purple Wave. But that hasn't been decided. And then we discussed the counter offer received from our applicant who was applying for the ambulance service director, and he was offered a job that combined those duties with the personnel duties of human resources. And we decided to approve interviewing an additional candidate who had put their application in for the EMS director, not for human resources at this time. And then I moved to omit the payment to Mr. Wallace, pending verification of his mileage, whether it was to and from the courthouse for meetings, and my motion died for lack of second. And then I moved to prohibit commissioners from charging mileage at the meeting for attending meetings at the courthouse. And that motion died for lack of second. And then Mr. Wallace moved to pay the accounts payable, which carried 2-1, with myself being the nay. And we did approve the payroll. So those numbers are $185,169.87 for payroll, and $685,817.42 for accounts payable. So I don't see any additions or corrections. I move to approve the minutes from May 31st, 2019.
A second.
If there is no further discussion, all those in favor vote aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. So then, do we have correspondence from Mr. Wallace? Is there anything in writing?
No, because he would resign to the other.
But there's no official paperwork yet? Okay, so that's not even really true yet. My other piece of correspondence that I brought in is yet another set of flyers that has been littered in the streets. This is the 4th time now, or the 3rd time that there are 2 separate ones, so this would be maybe number 3 and 4. What I'd like to call attention to, it's now a public document, so if anyone wants these, they can have them or get a copy of them. But what I'd like to call attention to are a few things here. Mainly concerning the accusation about the EMS department. What it says is, there's no name on these. Someone keeps printing these flyers in the same font with the same, you can tell it's the same author by their grammatical tone. So the thing that I would like to particularly address is, to the citizens of Lincoln County, if you value your personal privacy, you need to refrain from calling or using the Lincoln County EMS services from this point forward. The reason for this is Alexis Flug, your county commission, an individual with no experience in the field of EMS, has just appointed herself as the interim director for Lincoln County EMS and may now have access to your personal medical information if you use the EMS services of Lincoln County. There's a lot more in here that I won't even go on to read. If you want to read it, you're more than welcome to, but I just want to address that is not true. I do not have any access to anyone's medical records. I won't be serving on the ambulance. I won't be serving in the department. I'm not an EMT. The board is, the Lincoln County Board of County Commissioners is on the license now. So it's not me personally. However, Dawn did just clarify that if the state needs a point of contact, I'm currently sitting as the chair of the board. And that's just a rotation, actually. This is my 3rd year, and the first 2 years it was the other commissioners, so now I'm just on a rotation. That being said, I just want to squash any rumors that you may have concern that I have access to medical information, because I do not. I don't even know where to find it, and just like anyone else can make a request for public information, it's called CORA, Kansas Open Records Act. And I've done this, many citizens have done this, any one of you can do this. And if you want to CORA something from the EMS department, you can CORA employee information, such as wages, time cards, to see when people have worked or how much they've worked or what they're getting paid for. You may also do a CORA request for what's called a, Dawn, you might have to help me out. It's some kind of log. Do you remember the name of the log that you can CORA request from the EMS?
I don't.
Anyhow, it's basically just, it's the information that gives you the logistics of our ambulances. So when they were called out from the station, where they went, what time they got back, that kind of information is also accessible to the public. Nothing with a patient name, medical information, social security number, billing information. The only billing information you can have access to through a Cora is if you did a request for the county's portion of the billing, which means what the county billed out and then received according to the services provided by that department. You may not have access to what was billed to the individual's insurance company. Does that make sense? So, I hope that clarifies that issue. I don't have any personal interest in anyone's medical anything or other. So, and you're in there a little bit there.
What did I say about me?
Oh, it's on that one. You have to read those. They're interesting. That is the ending of the correspondence. Does anyone have anything else? If not, we will move on to Mrs. Kerth. Thank you.
There's one for Randy there too. This is just my proposed 2020 budget for the Office of Register of Deeds.
You're asking for less than last year.
Well, I would
Yourself,
ask
for yourself.
I would ask for more, but I know that I will not be approved for more. If you round it up, it's basically the same that I'm at right now.
I'm sorry, I should have qualified. You're asking for less for yourself. You have the budget.
You round it up. I've always been asking more for myself, yes, because I figure I could use, since I'm an office of one, I do all the work by myself. I figure I should be compensated more for that, but I never have been.
Do you have your actual expenses under each line item from the prior year?
No, you'd have to get that from the clerk's office. I don't have that.
Oh, okay, I see. You have 2 years prior request and approval. I get it. That makes sense. Okay. Okay. Do you have any questions about the budget?
No?
Your increase for the commodities, do you know where most of that went? As far as, it doesn't say what the expenses were from last year.
It's for lodging for KAC.
KAC, kind of the seminar.
Well, I've always budgeted for seminar. It's KAC that I'm budgeting for besides my
In
seminar.
addition to, wasn't the Register of Deeds the office that removed themselves from the KAC and then they went back in?
Yes.
Is that, okay. I see
Yes.
what you're saying.
And
And I'm on the executive board, so I need to be there.
Is this CIC support, what exactly?
That's for my computer software?
Okay.
Is that a separate program than any other office?
Yes. Well, Dawn has it for
Is it the
her minutes.
same company that does Don's, does yours? or
No.
Different,
Just for her minutes.
I see.
Everybody else is on contact, and I'm not.
you got special, the
Mhm.
system for yourself? Okay.
Yes.
Is that linked to the state?
No.
No?
No.
What are the underground vaults?
It's where my microfilm is stored
Oh.
in Hutchinson.
Oh, yeah. It's just a yearly fee.
Mm-hmm.
It's not as expensive as I would expect it to be.
No, and I don't have that
$150.
much.
Yeah. Okay,
I don't have any more questions. Do you?
looks good.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
see what we're looking at, the total budget proposed by the Register of Deeds office is for $46,470. Last year's 2019 approved budget was $42,330. Okay. Law enforcement, we had Mr. Weigel and Mr. Florence on the agenda.
Morning, just
Hello.
me this morning.
Yes,
Your chair without
for
arms.
me too.
Employee Casey Zacco has completed her 6 months of employment at the office, so I'm recommending her 50-cent salary increase. It was effective May 2nd, was her 6 months.
Okay,
She's been a good asset to our department.
is that for communications?
Yes.
And Mr. Weigel isn't here today, but I had spoken with him personally about the employee evaluations. Have you guys finished those?
They're not finished. They're currently being conducted.
They're
I passed
in-
out self-evaluation surveys for where the employees want to see themselves. Areas of improvement now, next year, and 5 years down the road. So I've got those all back, and that's what I'm using.
So
for
the
my
self
evaluation.
one, the self portion is done, and you're now working on
Yes.
the supervisor evaluation.
That's
Okay.
correct.
Do you have the one done for this particular employee?
It's not finished yet, no.
Okay. I only ask because I feel like it would be good protocol that as we give the raises, that the evaluation comes
Sure.
to the table, and then we can just verify that whatever your comments are. and-
Right. And the way the evals, I wrote the evals up myself, she hasn't experienced a lot of what the questions are.
Because you said it's been 6 months, right?
Yes, it's 6 months, so it's hard to experience, 6 months compared to 15 years, how the employee is. It's a very difficult job. It's not one that you learn overnight. Really, it takes years before you're completely comfortable.
Yeah,
Anyway,
I'm
but-
sure there's a lot to learn.
I feel she is a good employee. She is handling the job well. She's punctual. She shows up. She hasn't misused days off, vacations. She hasn't been late. So,
Yeah, so you're bringing your recommendations over. I understand
correct,
that.
yes.
I was just hoping that we could get the evaluations soon, since
I
we need to
understand.
make a determination on the pay scale
Right.
for the merit raise, so
And that falls on me as well as the budget and other office works. So
I understand.
I'm buried in paperwork
I
that I am
understand.
working on.
Out
So
of curiosity, are you doing all the evaluations? Or are you splitting
I
that
made
with
the
the sheriff?
forms and the sheriff is gonna approve them. I'll do my recommendations. We'll do the final evaluations on them.
But who's taking notes? You are?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I move to approve the 6-month pay increase for employee Casey Zacco in the communications department.
I'll second.
And you have effective May 26th.
Effective May 26th. When was the 6 month?
May 2nd was the
Okay,
6 months.
okay.
We do the pay period.
For that month, so effective for the pay period.
It's 50 cents.
At 50 cents, okay, let me restate that. I move to approve the 50 cent 6-month pay increase for employee Casey Zacco in the communications department. Effective May 26th, pay period 2019.
Second, again.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the requested pay increase for the employee. Is there any further discussion?
No.
If not, those in favor vote aye.
Aye.
Aye. And motion carries. Is that
Thank
all?
you.
Yep,
Yes, that is
thank you.
all. Is there any questions for me?
No, just
don't.
I was looking forward to the evaluations.
Just one little, on your evaluations, do you, so you have a whole different way of doing it probably for dispatchers than you do for officers?
Dispatch officer and jailer are 3 different
They were
ones.
3 different categories there,
Yes.
because obviously different jobs.
Correct.
Or do you oversee all them, right? Or
Yes.
the sheriff does, and then you,
I directly oversee communications. The sheriff oversees deputies.
okay.
Um,
I mean,
Okay.
we all.
Sure,
take
sure,
turns,
y'all
but-
work together. I'm
yeah.
just curious if there was a separation there because you got different jobs.
Right.
How many dispatchers do you currently have?
3 full-time. We still have a full-time position open and 2
Okay.
part-time. So the 2 part-timers are covering that full-time spot right now, which
And
What's
you're
their
looking,
starting wage?
are you needing another officer?
starting was 1180, I think.
You need another officer too?
Yes, and I don't know if that's been addressed. Gary Kuhn turned in his resignation. It's effective June 10th.
Oh, Jerry Coons leaving?
Yeah, so we do have
Okay. So
dispatcher
how do you handle
position.
that then? Just have overtime for other officers?
That's the only way we
Take
can
up the
right now.
slack right now? huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we have an open jail position. deputy and dispatcher.
One in each,
Yes.
okay, branch.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I
thank you.
didn't know that. Thank you for asking that. Okay. We are running slightly ahead, which is so unusual, but
They're out there.
Mr. Granzow, if you're ready, we are early. Are you ready now, or were you waiting on someone?
I'm sorry.
What, I'm sorry, are you ready now, or would you like to wait on someone?
We're a little early, but we'll take you if you guys are
That's
ready.
fine. No, I got here early.
Okay,
Okay.
that's fine, thank you.
All right.
So how you doing? How's the new doctors working out?
Very well.
Doing well?
Very well,
Getting
yes.
a good turnout?
Yes,
Good.
absolutely,
Good.
absolutely. They're gonna continue to build for a while.
Okay.
So it'll be good.
Any news on Mr. Degoni's status?
No,
Okay. Still waiting on the board of Peeling Arts or whatever?
yes.
Okay.
Okay, did you have your budget?
Yeah.
Okay. So, as I'm sure you understand, the commission has been made aware that we need to be looking at the hospital budget, which we have not done in years past.
Right.
It's
Now,
new to me, and
we have provided a budget every year since I've been here. I've been here 5 years, and I think a few years before that, we provided budgets because it was part of the arrangements on the bonds.
I did see that as well.
And so that's, we have been submitting a budget in connection with the bond issue and all of that, because that's one of the requirements, part of the covenants. So that's been going to the county commission as the public building commission, because county commission and public building commission are both. So we have been submitting that budget for 7, 8 years at the very least, I think. So I don't know, I'd have to go back and have a look at some of those things, but you have been getting a budget, just in your guise as the Public Building Commission.
So I think the statute says that the commission is to receive the budget from the hospital,
Mm-hmm.
and we have 10 days to return it with asking for questions and or doing approval. So I guess if you would just kind of give a little overview of what this financial plan means, because it's new to me,
Mm-hmm.
and if you could explain a little bit. And
Well,
I might be missing a few things just by not reading the line item and applying it directly, but, you know, are you showing like a cash on hand value? I didn't see that.
no, there cash isn't built into this. This is all basic, fundamental business accounting.
So how do we know if the cash on hand is budgeted to be applied to any of these deficits?
Well, we don't even know if there's going to be deficits. This is basically the budget you have in front of you. We are projecting 2 new physicians in this, and they really won't start paying for themselves for a while yet. But if I could back up to the basic budget, one of the questions I heard raised was that why are there 3 different pages? We budget for the hospital and each of the individual clinics that we have, which includes the Lincoln Medical Clinic and the Sylvan Grove Clinic. And these are the budget pages left separate for all of that. We, part of what drives the accounting on all of this is our primary payors. Our primary payors are Medicare. It is the big one. That's where most of our income is generated. But in fact, Medicare is 38% of our payer mix. Medicaid's another 15%. Private pay is 7%. So 60% of our income comes from either uninsured people or people who have some government form of insurance, either Medicare or Medicaid. Medicare reimburses us based on our costs. And they look at the cost in each of these 3 different cost centers, the Sylvan Medical Clinic, the Lincoln Medical Clinic, and the Lincoln County Hospital. So that's one of the reasons.
So they assess
we
an
break
individual assignment of reimbursement per entity.
Yes.
The reimbursement rate for Sylvan Clinic is not the same as it is for the Lincoln Clinic.
That's correct. That is correct, and that's not the same as for the hospital, but it's all cost-based reimbursement. So we're in the process of pulling together the financial records for our annual audit, which is always provided to the county commission. You always get a copy of our audited financial statements, and from those audited financial statements, then what's called a cost report is developed and submitted to the agencies, Medicare through Wisconsin Physician Services, because they're the intermediary, and then to the state of Kansas for Medicaid. And then they determine from that what they're going to pay us. Now, generally, we can stay on track, generally hospitals and clinics do not get reimbursed their actual cost. Hospitals and the clinics we operate are still under the sequester that the Congress passed in 2008. That means instead of getting 101% of our allowable cost, which is what the law originally allowed us, we're only getting about 97% of our actual cost. To complicate things even further, on average, most hospitals from Medicare only get approximately 87% of their actual costs reimbursed.
Medicare or Medicaid?
Medicare. So, but we are able to cash flow the business, and if you're interested about cash, we track that as a statistic. We do not build it into the budget.
So just for a basic example, if you have the Lincoln Medical Clinic showing a fiscal year 3/31 of 18 loss at $385,370, I would assume that your cash balance would reflect a deduction of $385,370.
Well, you've got to remember we built in this year 2 new physicians into that.
But I'm saying
And
just
it's
go back to the fiscal year that has ended already.
Mhm.
That way we're not dealing with anything hypothetical. So you've already finished up through 3/31/8, or from 3/31/18 to 3/31/19. That is done. So, well, I guess that confuses me too, because you have 2. So the fiscal year ending in 18, the first line, $385,370. Your loss
Yeah, we
there.
cash flow the business. If your question is, do we cash flow the business, the answer is yes. We
Right.
cash flow the business.
Right, so I guess I'm wondering, what is the initial balance? And then if you deduct the $385,370 loss from just the clinic, what is the cash balance there? Do you have a separate cash balance applicable to each individual entity? Or are you pulling that cash balance out of one fund for all 3 entities?
Well, the cash balance comes out of one fund for all 3 entities.
Okay.
And at any particular time, if I look back at 2018 on our statistics, we have, on average, 77 days cash on hand. In other words, at any particular time during the past year, we have enough cash on hand in the bank here in Lincoln to go ahead and continue to operate. If you look at what our average cash balance is at any particular time, we have approximately $1.1 million in the bank. Okay? So yes, we cash flow the business. And a lot of what you're seeing in our budget is the accounting. Depreciation is a non-cash charge, but we have to put it on our books. So, yeah, there are a lot of non-cash items on here and non-cash charges. But
So-
yes, like most of the
so is-
hospitals in Kansas, we do not operate in the black for accounting purposes.
Mhm.
Okay?
Yeah, but
We
I think
we
our
almost
concern
all
was just,
run.
These numbers
a
don't show it
bookkeeping
ever working,
deficit.
so is this the exact budget that the board sees?
Yes,
That-
that's
So
what you have in your hands
is
is the
what the
budget
board gets. So then,
that they approved at our March meeting.
okay, so then are they also receiving statements of the cash balance account with this? Or are they just looking at this with not seeing this?
We
the bank
prepare a
statement?
cash balance report for them every month. They know how much money we have in the bank, what we project our expenses to be, and what the balance of that is. Yes, so they see that every month.
So where are you on the projection? I'm just sticking with the Lincoln Medical Clinic to have one easy thing to discuss. So if we're basically calculating 3 times the loss here for that particular entity. And so where then are we with the cash balance after that is said and done? If you-
Well, these, as I've tried to point out, these are projections. We're just making estimates. We
I
cash
know,
flow
but
the
these
business.
are also based on what I read. These are also based on projections of generated revenue, 30% increase for
Right.
Lincoln, which you can't guarantee, and
Right.
50%
Right.
increase for Sylvan.
Yeah.
So I guess I'm wondering how the math adds up for that projected increase. Is the cash on hand that much greater to float this particular entity into this loss versus what has been done in the years before?
I don't know what we have in the bank today, but we generally at any given time, as I just pointed out, average having about 1.1 million in the bank. So yes, we do have the cash to cover our operating expenses, but you've got to remember some of the expenses you're looking at built in here are non-cash items, such as depreciation.
So that loss isn't necessarily a loss that much, it's a depreciation, right?
But
No,
without
no.
seeing the cash balance and knowing what you're projecting to withdraw from there, you really can't make that assumption.
I know what we have in the bank, and so I know the way this place is operated. I've been here for 5 years now, and we have never asked for, an increase in our mill levy. We've not asked you to issue any no-fund warrants to basically operate the business.
Well, there was
It
an
is
increase in the mill
operational.
levy from about 370 some
Yeah.
thousand to over 500,000
No,
just
when-
about 2 years
when
ago.
I say the mill,
3 years ago.
we've not asked for a mill levy increase.
I know,
We're
but you
still
did
at 10
receive
mills.
the increase from the county.
That increase was based on the overall valuation of the county.
I
That
understand
wasn't based on anything that we asked for. So
I
it
understand.
went up based on the county's valuation. But we've never asked for an increase in the mill levy. Now, the other thing I would like to point out is, yes, we have some revenue bonds, and we're paying those off regularly, okay? We're no problem with that. In fact, we refinanced all those revenue bonds approximately 2.5 years ago, if I recall correctly,
Yes.
so that we could save $1 million in interest and other payments.
So when does
And the
that-
hospital paid for that.
When does that balloon payment increase? There is a balloon here soon, I believe.
No, there is not. There's no balloon. The payments will go down. What we've done since we've refinanced those is we've been paying the old payment into a bank account so that we have 1 year's worth of bond payments on hand in a segregated account. That was part of the original thing that we did with the county commission at the time. We agreed to pay, like you pay down your mortgage, if you refinance it and then you keep making the same old payments, then you build up and you come back and you have a nice little nest egg saved up, and so we've done that.
Currently, it was to 30-35, or 20-35, right?
Yeah.
And we're paying approximately like 300,000, 350,000 a year, you guys do.
Right.
The payment.
And we have got,
With interest.
and over the past couple of years,
I
we have
told you wrong one time, I thought there was a balloon payment in there, and I re-looked it
Okay.
It's just a,
Yeah.
I
Okay.
told Alexis,
No.
I thought,
We're-
I was reading your documents
We're
and I saw,
excess funding.
I saw you had 2 or 3 years together there in one big chunk, and I'm going, wow, it looks like it's gonna go
Yeah.
up in
Okay.
2025 to like
No,
800.
there's
No,
no
so I'm
way.
wrong there,
Okay.
Alexis, so, okay.
Okay.
There's
So,
no
no,
way.
I noticed you're all the same for
Yeah.
about 300 some thousand. Actually, it's gonna go down some. isn't
Yes,
A
it
little
is.
bit, yeah.
Eventually it'll
Well,
go
And
down.
you guys
Yeah.
generate that money, even though we pay it through commission, we pay that, but you actually
It's
fund it.
deposited by
It's deposited back
the
to us.
hospital, but
By the
spent by
hospital, back to us.
the
Right,
built by
right,
the building
right.
commission.
So
Yeah.
some people may see that the
That it's
commissioners
an
here.
expense from
Right.
us.
We see an expense of 350, or no, it's like,
It's about
about
365,
360 grand a year,
$75,000.
along with the mill levy we give you, which is
Right.
about 500 and some thousand.
Right,
So that 350,000 to everybody, that's paid back by the hospital to
That's
the
correct.
county. So
Their
just
revenue
to
bond.
make everybody aware of that. I
Right.
didn't realize that either till we just.
Yeah,
found it out.
yeah.
Okay.
What does RHC stand for?
Rural Health Clinic.
Oh,
One concern, and I'm confused a little, and you're pointing this out because you have deductions of
appreciation.
depreciation, thank you. So that gets put in here as a part of the expense.
Yeah, yeah.
So you look at that, and you say, geez, they're losing
Yeah,
X amount of money a
Yeah.
year, 300-400
Yeah.
grand a year, and we're going, and I first come in here and I'm new and I don't know what's going on. So I'm going, God, how can you operate when you're losing 300-400 grand a year? I mean, well, how you know, but then
Right.
you're pointing this depreciation thing out, so that gets
Right.
added to that.
Yeah.
So that really is kind of a confusing.
But your depreciation is isolated in a line item, no?
oh yeah, you have to do it that way. Under generally accepted accounting principles, yeah, under the GAAP.
They got it in there,
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying.
No, but- it's
you
just-
can, you can isolate that amount and
Oh,
know
okay.
what the depreciation amount is.
Right.
It's not just a question as to how much is
Okay.
depreciated, it's
Right.
right there. This,
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
that dollar
Yeah.
amount
yeah. Right,
out of,
out of that,
Mhm.
yeah. No, it's just, there's questions been asked.
And that's fine.
Well, you
I-
see
I-
this,
that's
you
why I
see
wanted
this
to come up
loss
here.
down there,
Yeah.
and you go, how are you guys keeping
Yeah.
your doors open? And that's all.
And-
People ask me that, and
Yeah.
that's why I'm asking you that. I'm not against the hospital or none of this stuff.
Right, I understand.
You know that. It's
No.
just, it's just a little confusing on the county.
Yeah, and, you know,
That's all.
and I'm gonna tell you a joke from when I went, took accounting, at the graduate level. There's this young man, he's, being interviewed by an accounting firm for a job. And, the interviewer asked him a very simple question: what's 2 + 2? Well, the first candidate says, well, it's 4. So he interviews several more candidates. Gets down to one young man he's talking to, and he asks the question, what's 2 + 2? Remember, these are accountants talking to each other. Guy looks around, pulls the shade, says to the interviewer, what do you want it to be? So that's some of how accounting works. What we do is we're trying to project what we think is a realistic budget, because it's a roadmap for us. We know what we're doing in certain areas. We've made certain assumptions. Whether those assumptions bear out or not is hard to tell. But it's one of the things that we do. We cash flow the business, and that's more important than the accounting.
I guess what I'm saying is from a basic
the
accounting-
real proof is in our annual audited financial statements. That's where you'll see everything.
historically, yes, but
Yeah.
you're going into a new year with projections, and so
Right.
that's where the questions come
Yeah.
in, because
And that's
you're
fine.
actually projecting, let's take Sylvan as an example,
Mhm.
you're projecting a 50% increase in the revenue. So saying that potentially does not happen, your negative numbers increase by that 50% deducted from the professional fee income. So what the question is,
Well,
without knowing the
the-
cash balance, to be
Per-
able to fund that,
Ma'am,
if that doesn't happen.
professional fees are a cost. They're not an income. When you look at professional fees down here in the clinic management operating expense, is that what you're looking at, or are you looking at the top line?
No, you're
'Cause-
under
'cause-
revenue.
Because under revenue.
Under
Because
revenue?
there's 2 different ones there, and I know people
Well, there's only one
sometimes-
income for Sylvan.
Right,
There's
Sylvan.
only one income for Sylvan, and you have it labeled professional fees,
okay, yep.
right?
Yes, professional
Or is that
fees
2
from
plus
the,
2?
from the rural health clinic.
Okay, So.
Because professional fees down below is an operating expense.
No, I'm talking about the
Okay.
income.
All right.
But that projected income, you're saying, from what I read, is a 50% increase. So I'm just questioning.
Right.
I'm questioning, I don't know the numbers of what's available if that 50% increase doesn't happen. So the
Well-
county is actually on the hook to make sure that those bond payments get paid if something falls through financially.
Okay.
I'm not saying it will.
Well, if I may, I've already stated we have already put away for the county, out of our revenue, a little over a year's worth of those bond payments. Now, if the hospital folds, okay, what we get from the county and our 10% mill levy covers those bond payments by a fairly large amount. So you still would have county revenue that had been designated to go to the hospital, that if the hospital quit operations, you'd still have income coming into the county.
I see what you're
to be
saying,
able to
because
pay those
it's over
bonds.
$500,000
Yes.
for 10 mil,
Yeah.
and the bond payments are 360, something like
Yeah.
that. So yeah, you have that
Right.
that break to be able to pay
Right.
that. But that also means that we're paying that until 2035 with or without a functioning entity.
Right.
So I'm just questioning the numbers. If you don't see the cash on hand
Mm-hmm.
balance, then you kind of don't know if you're over projecting what you can fund. If things
Well,
go
you know,
not according to the proposed plan.
Again, as they,
Well, I'll ask it. I'll ask it in a simple way that everybody
you
can
know,
understand.
no
Is your
plan.
projected loss total dollar amount greater than what is cash on hand being turned over for the year?
No, I don't
Okay.
think so.
That's-
This is a roadmap. We've made certain assumptions. You know, we make fairly conservative assumptions going forward. If you want to know how we're staffing the Sylvan Clinic, prior to our current set of doctors coming here, we were staffing the Sylvan Clinic when I first got here just 1 day a week with a mid-level. And since then, we've upped that to about 3 days a week. Now we'll have, and a physician only one afternoon a month. Now we'll, starting next week, we'll basically have a physician as well as mid-levels at the Sylvan Clinic 4 full days a week.
Really?
So we're only projecting a 50% increase, but we're increasing the staffing
By
a lot more.
75%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so
But
it's.
that also increases your expense to be there by that much.
But that's, as you know, between marginal costs and marginal revenue equal each other, you're making money.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
that's what we're doing right now.
I'm hopeful
is-
for it.
is
I mean, I've
trying
heard
to
really
get
good
that.
things about
Yeah.
everything that's happening right
Yeah.
now.
Right.
I'm just looking at down
Right.
the line. If you don't hit that 50% increase mark, if you don't hit that 30% increase mark, did you project an increase in by a particular percentage for the hospital?
Oh.
Just because you projected an increase?
No, I don't. I think we kept that fairly flat.
It's about 200. Well, less than 200.
Yeah.
No.
Well,
200.
we're actually projecting a total income of a little over $200,000. That's probably a tad low because we don't know what our Medicare cost report will look like. We won't know that until probably October or November is when we'll know the results of that. So that's another place. And again, yeah, the hospital
So
helps.
My question is, how do you determine, like, let's take the total projected loss. You have a cash balance, you have a total projected loss. If those are equivalent, let's say, just for the basic fundamental purposes,
Yeah.
how do you project the percentage loss that's a variable depending on if you don't meet your revenue increases?
Because we know historically what our operating loss is. You know, historically, we run about 10% operating loss
Okay.
for the whole shooting match, which you'll see at the time the audit is done. But if you look at all the hospitals in Kansas, especially the critical access hospitals, 73% of all Kansas hospitals operate at a loss. So there's only very few that actually operate in the black. One of the ones in our vicinity that operates in the black is Salina Regional. The other is Mitchell County Hospital. Now, Mitchell County Hospital is a much larger hospital, has a much larger medical staff. They do surgery there, they deliver babies there, they have a lot of capabilities that we do not.
Mm-hmm.
And they're one of the few critical access hospitals in the state that actually has a plaque operating them. Most critical access hospitals do not. A lot of the rural PPS hospitals do not. Up until very, oh, you would ask me that and I would go blank. Prospective payment system, the DRG-based system. So some of those PPS hospitals are losing money. Up until very recently, Hayes was one of those. So it's not unusual for small rural hospitals to have these kinds of scary-looking budgets.
I noticed in Sylvan here, you hadn't any employee benefits until next 2020. You're gonna have up 62,000.
Well,
Is that just for you're gonna pay part of your benefit based out of their budget, huh?
well,
The new doctor?
since we published this budget, some of these numbers have changed.
Okay.
Basically, we allocate most of our employee benefits for the Sylvan Clinic back to the Lincoln.
Yeah, back out of Lincoln.
And so, yes, we're
Now you're
making
gonna
some.
tie some of that to that budget.
Yes.
Right, that's fine.
Yeah.
That's what.
And that, and
Is that
but
the,
like I said, just getting started on that.
Is that the Mrs. Chima? Probably. She's gonna be kind of based over there, isn't she?
Well, she'll be over there
I
at
th-
least one day a week. The way we've got it, you know, when we were originally thinking about this and looking at budget projections, we said, well, we'll put, just for budget purposes, we're going to put Mrs. Chima in the Sylvan Grove Clinic.
Yeah.
But since then, since we've got them both here and they're now working and we're getting our schedule adjusted, we thought it would behoove the whole county, the whole community, to have her there one day a week, Mr. Chima one day a week, Jessica one day a week, and I've just made an offer to another provider to come in and do another day a week so that we're in Sylvan Grove full-time, 4 days a week. And
With
so I think-
rotating.
Yes,
Each day is for a
rotating
particular
physician. Yeah,
physician.
yeah,
or
yeah.
assistant.
And so that would be that, but
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Now, there was also a question I heard through the grapevine about the capital budget and why we have attached a capital budget. Again, Medicare requires us to project a 3-year capital budget, so we
Yes.
wanted to make sure that you all had access to that. That's our projected spending, what we're looking at. We're currently in year 1 for this particular 3-year budget.
And that is all for under the hospital entity?
Yes,
Or, okay.
yeah, yeah.
Because I see
Well, the-
equipment on there and I would
Yeah.
assume that.
Equipment. Everything has a useful life, and we've been pushing a lot of our stuff right to the edge of its useful life. So, you know, we're
I guess-
trying to take advantage of grants and other funding to pay for some of this, which we do a lot of our capital improvements we do with grants. The first capital improvement project we had was to upgrade the radiology department, and we did all of that through grants and funding from the Lincoln County Hospital and Healthcare Foundation. So, but we have to show it on the budget no matter how it's funded. So that was one of the questions I think that came up.
I think my other question, and this goes back to when I attended the hospital board meeting, the question was asked, why is it that the current, or I should say prior provider at the hospital and or the new current providers through the clinic, I should say, are not scheduled for any ER time coverage? Would that not be pretty standard practice according to what other local area hospitals do as far as assigning?
No, because everybody does it differently. As I told the board at our last meeting, because I was prepared to answer that question, currently in the state of Kansas, there are about 20 hospitals like Lincoln County Hospital that use Avera eMemergency for physician coverage of their ERs.
What's it called?
Avera
AVERA.
eMemergency. AVERA. We were the second hospital in the state of Kansas to sign a contract for emergency room coverage with Avera eMemergency. But what it does, it cuts down on the disruption to the clinic. When you have a provider who's in the clinic seeing patients and they get called to the emergency room, most emergency room cases aren't just 5 or 10 minutes. They'll stretch to an hour, hour and a half. And if that happens, that provider gets called out of the clinic where there are already scheduled appointments to see patients, and you have to cancel and reschedule those patients. If that provider is called out in the middle of the night, the generally acceptable thing to do is they get the next day off. Because basically, no, if you're up, that's not, they do get the next day off if they worked all night in the ER. So you're going to cancel that schedule. So the way we've set it up, we can actually see now more patients in the clinic than we used to in the past because they're not disrupted by emergency room calls.
That's
An
confusing to me. I said that's confusing to me. I actually have family.
It is
I actually
to a
have
lot of
family
people.
that
It
are providers
it is to a lot
in
of
situations where they're
people.
on call.
Yeah.
And when they work those shifts, they when they're on call, and it doesn't really change their work schedule for the week. I mean, that's in Pennsylvania, and those are the people that I know that are serving in this industry.
Right.
But I guess
And-
if you're saying that's a local practice, that would be up to our board, right? That's up to the board, the Lincoln County, the hospital board. The board would set that as a local policy or not, whether they're going to have the clinic providers also take ER shifts on call.
Well, yes, this is the way I presented it to the board. And we've been doing this now, I believe this is our 4th year with them, 5th year maybe. I've been here 5 years, so I think it's our 4th year with Avera,
Okay.
going into our 5th. But you survey the hospitals in our area. We're members of what's called the Sunflower Health Network, and we're all critical access hospitals. So I surveyed our hospitals, and basically, of the...
We'll take a little break.
Okay.
Thank you. No, you reviewed that last,
Yeah.
at our board
Yeah.
meeting, and I think you got made sense because you got your mid-levels, you said, in the ER.
Right.
That way then your doctors they got schedules in the
Yep.
clinic, and I could see if they would have to go back and forth,
Yeah.
it would be disruptive. I see your
I'd
point.
like to renegotiate her friends' contracts because nobody works like that anymore. Well, I take that back. In Beloit, they still do that. But they don't employ mid-levels either.
Yeah, Carol?
How many children are seen in this county each year?
Oh, I don't know. I'd have to look that up.
Did you get that number for me?
Sure. And who are you?
I'm Carol Delatorre. I had talked to you on
Oh,
the
yes.
phone.
Okay. We've
Yeah.
talked on the phone. We have not met.
I'm just concerned why we needed a pediatrician.
Well, one of the reasons that when the doctors came here for their initial visit,
Right.
Mrs. Chima wasn't part of the package. When we had done the tour and we'd done several other things, then she said she wasn't really part of the package. I think it's great to have a pediatrician here because the young ladies don't have to make that 50-mile trip to Salina. They can see a pediatrician right here. And so I think it's a convenience factor for the young women of childbearing age in this community.
So she's an OBGYN?
No, she's a pediatrician.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So she's gonna see children.
Right.
And that's why I'm concerned about the number of children. You know, the cost to have her here is huge. And I can't, what are their salaries? Is that public knowledge?
No.
Yes,
Yes, it is.
yes, it is.
Well, built in overall.
No, it's public knowledge what the individual, any salary for the
So
hospital.
what is she being paid?
$240,000 a year.
Okay. And then how much do you estimate that she will bring in?
Oh, I think by the time she's been here 3 years and geared up for practice, you've got to remember there's a growth cycle.
Right.
By the time she's had time to build her practice, she'll make much more than that, but I couldn't tell you how much right now.
Yeah. And so Lincoln, so then is he being paid $250,000 also?
No, he's being paid more.
So what is that total? What is that amount?
$325,000.
Okay, so do the math, that's 550, what, 250 and what? And 350?
325.
And 325. So
575,000.
what were we paying Dragoni?
Basically, he was getting $325,000 a year.
Okay. So again, the county is in financial straits.
Well, the county is. The hospital is doing just fine right now.
Well, but the county provides you $500,000 a year.
Right.
And now we've added 500 and some thousand for doctors.
Mm-hmm.
When we, I just don't, I'm here on behalf of Lincoln Park Manor.
Okay.
And the county is in financial straits. And I'm
Mhm.
like, we need a pediatrician when all the kids, Alexa,
Well-
where do you take your child for childcare?
Not here. I don't.
Right.
And nobody's gonna switch doctors
Well,
unless,
I'm kind of aware, I have some young women that work for me,
right,
and they're of childbearing age and have children, and they are so happy that we have a pediatrician so that they can leave all the turmoil of the political politics in
how does
Salina.
politics get into it?
It forces turnover of pediatricians down there, and they have to change doctors every couple of years.
Yeah,
And
kinda
so
like
we're
here.
offering them some
like we do.
stability. We're trying to offer them some stability, a new service line, a new revenue.
Okay.
The women I
If I
talk to
may,
think it's a great idea.
if I may just interject, we do have to stick to the agenda today because we have so many people. But
But
I
I
would,
want the number on the number of children seen this last year in Lincoln County.
you can do any kind of public information request through the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
Most information is going to be available to you, save employee identification information or patient information. So
Yes.
anything dealing with the numbers, statistically, the figures, the finances is all open record. I'm going to end this conversation so we can move on to the highway department, but I would suggest that
Okay.
you attend the hospital meeting. I think that'd be a great place to
When is that?
get on the agenda. When is the next one?
It's the third
Third
Tuesday.
Tuesday.
Third Tuesday of the month.
So that would be, yes, the 18th of June.
Yeah.
At
I'd like to share
6:30?
one more item
at
of
6:30 p.m.?
6:30, yes.
6:30 p.m.
One more item of information.
Sure.
We are one of the smallest hospitals in the state of Kansas. We provide some of the best care in the state of Kansas, and we have been recognized for that by a couple of individual organizations that monitor hospital quality of care in this state. So, yes, it may have some cost associated with it, but you have a very valuable resource here, and it's providing value to the people of Lincoln County. And it is our goal to provide more value for what you've invested. But we are a very highly acknowledged and well-equipped hospital that provides wonderful care. Got wonderful staff. I've got outside observers who can back up all of that. So, yeah, the county is getting its money's worth when compared to other hospitals of our size. So,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you for the explanation, and we will send
Sure.
that back to you so that you can be able to move from
All
there.
right.
Okay, on the agenda, I have Mr. O'Hare and Mr. Yost.
Good morning.
Hello.
Morning.
First of all, somebody made me aware of some issues at the emergency services building with water on the west side of the building. I guess the drainage tube and an upper gutter are leaking, and something I was unaware of, but somebody's gonna have to get that fixed. The neighbor there contacted me and said that with the last heavy rains we had, that she got some water in her garage due to that leaking.
Is that, the gutter is,
The top gutter is leaking at a seam in that one.
oh, that's a seam?
We got,
Okay.
we've got a break in
I
that
see
pipe.
that, yeah, that looks
Two of
like
those
old
are
PVC.
broke.
It's on the west side of the EMS.
Yes, it's,
With
I think
red
the,
knight.
Oh, up the
Yes.
back, okay.
yes, I think the sun has deteriorated that pipe and one of the hangers has broke off, so
I will make a call,
see.
Yeah, go
See
right
if we
ahead.
can-
Fine with me.
I will,
If you wanna book somebody to fix that.
yeah. It's,
Okay.
it doesn't look like
We don't
anything
need
too
to vote on it,
taxing.
do we? I'm just trying to do it.
That, and I believe I didn't take a picture of that, but where the pipe enters underneath the sidewalk, it doesn't go clear to the street, so it doesn't have
It's
an
backing
exit
up into
there.
the yard, is that the idea?
Yeah.
It's just kind of pooling, and with the water, yeah, we've had a lot of water.
So, do you want these pictures? If you want them, you can have
Yes,
them.
yeah, that would be helpful, thank you for doing that.
Yep. As you guys are probably aware, we have had a considerable amount of flooding and damage around the county. We visited with Kansas Department of Emergency Management representatives last week, trying to get them some more information, but the way it looks that we'll probably get declared in the federal disaster and be getting some funding, hopefully, for repairs of this work, so.
How did I know you requested David Doe and you guys went and got a pump, didn't you, from Junction City for Barnard? How did that go? Did that work okay for you?
I don't know how
Oh.
it worked or anything, but
Oh.
I know we did deliver it back down
Yeah.
there this morning, so.
When they had it, I guess the dike at, by
Yes.
Barnard was about ready to go over or whatever,
Oh.
or flood, huh?
Water, there's too much water inside the dike that
Oh.
doesn't have a way to get out
Oh,
when
okay.
flood waters are up,
Okay,
because they have
right, yeah, obviously.
floodgate tubes on there.
Yeah, I just wondered because, you guys, David said you guys were gonna go to Junction and get that. We said, go ahead, you know, I did anyway. So.
Yeah. Down
Okay,
there.
I just didn't know. Now, hopefully now that flooding's about alleviated somewhat, huh?
For right now, we are, yes.
Okay.
I did visit with the Corps of Engineers this morning, and they may be doing a large release from the lake when downstream tributaries free up a little bit, and they may go to a value high enough to wash out one of our roads, at least one of our roads, so.
Oh, really? Flooding over the river that bad, really?
If they decide to let out that fast, I don't know if they will or not, but I would prefer they not, but.
Well, yeah, and it's not raining right now, so maybe it's, but
So,
it might this week though, but
While
yeah.
we're talking about the lake being let out, have either of you seen the project that was done on that bridge? That's the first bridge, 65?
Yeah, I was out there probably last week.
And so then you're clearly aware that everything except for the few rocks that were there has been washed away.
Yeah, that was just overburden that we had extra. So it's back to the original elevation where it's at now.
So I'll send you some before and after pictures, but I think you clearly remember that I was requesting riprap be put against the wing walls and on the banks of the shore there because of the washout. And now all of the soil that we paid our county employees to place on the banks that was supposed to have grown over with grass, is what you said, is now gone downstream. And the remaining rock that's there, I mean, there are some big boulders and some random pieces, but that was all covered with soil placed by our county highway department that is now no longer there. So I'd just like to highlight that as a particular event that could have been easily avoided if we had followed some suggestions and looked at some ways of doing things. So I'm not sure what you want to do about that, how you're going to remedy it. Now we're going to pay again to have guys out there.
I believe at the level it's at now is fair. I guess we can go take a look at it,
Yeah, I've
but
seen it.
Have you seen it,
I
Tanner?
haven't seen it.
Why don't you guys look at it and reevaluate and see what its condition is in? See if we need to add more to it or what?
There was no more rock than that. That was when Bob was here. He continually said the rock is under the dirt. The rock is under the dirt. Well, that's the rock that was under the dirt.
Well, the dirt's
It's no
yeah.
longer there.
Yeah. Well, obviously the dirt washed away.
Which was there to create.
So what would you like to see? Just a permanent big riprap rock and no dirt on top of it?
Yes, because the idea is here, there's the channel coming down.
That's what the wing wall's there for. The metal wall acts as like rock when you don't have wing walls.
Yeah.
Well, what's the correct way to do this? Is it put more rock there, or do you try to then to cover it up with dirt and have grass over it eventually?
Well, if you put more just dirt there, the dirt's
It's gonna wash out again if they have a flood, so you
The
might as well
rip-
not put dirt
Yeah,
there.
the riprap around the rings is kind of a county's preference. If you guys would like to do that, then yeah, it'll probably help.
It doesn't help the stability of the bridge any.
It's the channel, the way that the channel and the water is flowing. It comes from the lake, okay, and it makes a big, almost like a C, a backward C.
Okay.
And then it comes in and under the bridge. Well, there's back swirling that happens in that channel and off to the south where that bridge is, and that all becomes a marshy, cattail kind of area with a lot of soppy wet, and it's all behind the actual, what I want to call it, the bank side of where the water flows. So you get a swirl effect. Then it happens again on the other side of the bridge, and it cuts out to the south again beyond the actual foundation of where the bridge is built. So you're getting a swirling wash against the bank side on the south, on both ends.
So what's your solution? Put more riprap on both
If
sides?
we rocked
Have
it,
big,
it would
big rock?
channel, right, big.
And that would help fix this? you
It
think?
would channel the water through. I mean, you can look up, just Google riprap bridges, and you'll see. I mean, it's a pretty much protocol that they even do it for bridges over highways. I mean, you know, they do the embankment. It's a solidification issue. You know, that is now, you could see. I have pictures of the deterioration over the last year. I mean, it's deteriorated. You could see this slide happening, like a little landslide. There'd be a crack, and then the dirt would fall, and then there'd be a washout.
Within the right of way?
Right there up against the bridge that you guys just repaired.
Okay.
I've brought this to your attention multiple times, but now with this last rain, literally all the dirt that was placed by our equipment and our men is gone, like just completely gone. So
Right.
again, I requested some riprap. I believe that's the only solution to not have a continual issue like that.
Okay.
And it's an important bridge because every other bridge in that whole section is closed. There's one, you can't get north of there. It comes through the north from 181. There's the road through there. And you can't continue to go north. You have to actually go east again and then north. So it needs to stay open. We can't have issues with that bridge.
Yeah.
And someone lives right there.
Okay,
We can put riprap on.
go ahead.
I do have some title changes for the highway department. Emmett is now an operator out of Vesper motor grader. Larry Reinert is truck driver, and Sheldon Frederking will be going to a dozer.
Okay.
And I also have
Are there wage changes with
no,
that?
there was no wage changes with those.
Who's my yard grader driver where I live? Up there? Southeast of me.
On your side, I believe that would be Gary Fuller.
Gary Fuller.
Who did you say moved to Vesper?
Emmett Haug.
Grader out of Vesper.
Yes.
Okay. And while we're on the subject of graders, I just want to say I have a compliment for Bobby Zacco. I'm on the road from the school, as you would know, but then that entire route, I've just noticed he's done a lot of reshaping. There's a lot of stuff happening, and the last operator was keeping it to where it's always been passable. I've never had an issue there, but I just noticed there's been a lot of work done to kind of move the shoulders up and not have them, the road's getting really wide right there because it's really heavy traffic on Kiowa, so I
Yeah.
understand why.
It needs narrowed up.
Yeah, and he's doing that, and I just wanted to let you know, and I've already had a lot of compliments about that, so that's good.
And I also make a recommendation that we be able to hire this gentleman as a truck driver, pending pre-employment testing. he has
He already
experience
has
as
a
an
CDL and
yes.
everything, so.
experienced truck driver.
Trent Hall, Trinity Hill. There you go, we wanna review that, or what?
I mean, you already conducted the interview and
Yes, ma'am.
everything was, did you have anyone sit in on the interview since we don't have an HR position filled?
Jesse and I did it.
You two did it?
Yes.
Is it a truck driver, you said?
Yes, sir.
And he's experienced and got a good record and everything? Good.
So that's what he's been doing, he's driving truck.
What rate would you start him at?
I believe starting rate is 11:30 right now at the highway department. Wait,
Okay.
is that right?
Dawn, you would have to verify that because I do not
I don't know
know.
if I wrote
It's
that.
okay.
I'm sorry.
It's not that big a deal, Mike, I just
We
curious.
do need to know because if we're
Oh,
going to
yes.
approve his hire, then we need to say the
Okay.
dollar amount.
All right.
Dawn, would you please verify what the truck driver entry rate is?
I don't know without leaving and going someplace else to look.
Okay, so can we do that at the end of the meeting?
Yeah, I can check that
You
number
need to
and
do
bring
it,
it back down.
you wanna do it today? or-
I would like to do it today, yes.
Do you have anything set up for his screening and all of that?
Yeah, it's all been
So
done.
it's all
We're
ready
waiting.
to go,
Yes,
you're just
we're-
asking for our approval, okay. So we can't make the motion without the dollar amount, and I'll make sure we put that at the end.
Okay, when we get done, I'll go upstairs and
Let
check.
me just write the name down, then you can take this back.
Yeah. Trinity Hall, do you
Mhm.
live here?
Yes,
Lincoln, it says. And the title of truck driver.
correct.
So now, does that mean with your changes, is there still an open position?
Road and bridge supervisor.
Yes, but that's,
Yes,
but
all
you've
the
got
others
the,
are
okay,
filled at the time being.
this was the open.
This was the
Okay.
open one.
How many applicants did you have?
I believe we have 3.
And how many interviews did you conduct?
3.
You interviewed all the applicants?
I believe so. Maybe we had 4. I know we did 3 interviews though.
Okay. Okay.
And I know we're short on time and I apologize
Yes,
for
that's
all
okay.
that, but we kind of have a big issue right now out at Wilson Lake Estates. They had a road slide out there in which it took a large gap of the road, and I'm sorry I didn't bring a picture of it.
I got a
Say
picture
that,
of
but
it.
I didn't know where it was.
But here's, the issue we have is
Who owns it?
There's some pictures.
there's a lot of back history that I gotta do a lot more studying on. But I believe Lincoln County took over the roads as platted back in 70s, 76, 77. Well, they've went out and they've changed some roads on their own. They just kind of do whatever they want out there.
Are you
And
talking
they-
about the other county? Or are
No,
you talking about
this is
within the estates?
Within the
Okay.
estates. And they have a dirt contractor that just does what they ask him to do and some of that stuff. And some of them get pretty particular. They don't want any trees cut, trimmed. You know, they don't like you
Oh my.
doing much blading next to their property and whatever it may be. But the sad thing is about this section of road, it's been marked private road since who knows.
That's
I've worked,
sewer line? What is that line?
Water
Abandoned
line.
water line.
Oh, it's not it's not, okay.
you know,
What is this big pipe off to the side?
that's
There's actually a corrugated metal pipe that goes under the road.
it
Is that
drains.
just a drain? Oh,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
okay.
Drains the ditch
Okay.
up above. But that section of road, I've worked here for almost 20 years now, and we've never maintained it as long as I've worked here.
You mean it's never been graded
Not by us.
or added gravel or anything?
No, we have not done anything on it
But
because
it's
they
in our
mark it
county?
as. Well, that's what they're saying now.
But it's not a county road, it was built for the plan, is what you're saying?
It was in a,
The
yeah,
Yes.
county didn't build the road?
No, we did not build the
it
road.
was
I
a
see what you're
private
saying.
estate, the roads, right?
But back in the 70s, I guess the commissioners took over the roads. You know, I still need to go do some legwork and see if there's ever road dedications and some of that stuff to make sure that everything was done officially. But, you know, we've been maintaining most of the roads out there. But, you know, based off the original plat, there's actually a garage built on where the original road was at one place. One set of people actually have it gated and private. There's actually like 3 sections of it that they keep
Have you been in
private.
contact, because I know they have like a commission of their own.
Homeowners Association.
Is that what it
yes.
is? Okay, have you been in contact with them?
I have been visiting with them. yes.
Recently?
Yes.
So, do we need to have a discussion with them? I mean, I
Well,
feel like they
I
should be at
think
the table.
in due
that way we
time,
can-
yes. I told them that we need to have a sit
Well, but
down
what
and
about this,
discuss
because
about
this
it.
is a huge liability.
That's a good question.
Yeah.
How do we proceed? Because there is a state statute that basically says that,
What?
Pretty much if, it says township hasn't done any maintenance on it for 20 years, then it's the owner's, shall be the duty of such owner to establish and maintain roadbed and drainage.
How old is this road? It's not 20 years old.
oh yeah, it was in
It
the
is.
70s.
Oh, you did say that, I'm sorry.
Yeah, well,
So you're
just get
saying there's
started.
nothing
But
in our
we
records of
haven't-
ever having maintained this?
Yeah. And in fact, I was probably out there
Have we put up a sign or something though?
we have not, they did, that says private drive.
Yeah, there should
I
be
see
one
that.
fixed, yeah.
But 10 to 12 years ago, I was out there myself, and one of the homeowners back there actually ran me out of there and told me to get off their private property, that I wasn't supposed to be down their private road. So at that point, I
But
never
who
did
called
go
you about
back.
this? The
Uh,
homeowners association?
yes. The initial call was from the homeowners association.
Yeah, so it's 20 years.
I was just
here.
looking at the number 68,115.
There's a, see, that's a 20-year.
Yeah,
If it hasn't been maintained for 20 years, then
Okay.
it's like,
I'm sorry, you said yes, it was the homeowners association that called
Yes.
you at the office
Yes.
and was requesting, like, what
Wanted
was
me
the-
to go look at it and made me aware that
That it
this had
happened,
happened.
and then was there any discussion about expectations with the representative from the homeowners association? Out of curiosity.
Not at this point. I told him I got to find out
Just
the
figure
actual
out what's
ownership of
going
the
on.
road.
Let's-
And when I did initially go out there, the contractor that does all the dirt work for the individuals out there was there and said that, you know, this is the third time that it's happened. So
In that same spot,
in the same general
along
vicinity.
that ridge.
Yes.
That's huge.
So, you know, I think he was intending on fixing it. But I think it's one of those deals where the homeowner association does not want to do it if they can have the county pay for it.
Well, yeah, and you can kind of see from this picture that there's no real road base. It's just kind of on the ground. I mean, this is,
yeah,
that's,
they just made a road out the
Yeah.
hill.
Yeah.
There's no,
Yeah.
it's just a path which they've improved over the years.
yeah.
There's no road.
And who barricaded that? Is that a barricade?
Yeah, it's not ours.
It's
I
not.
don't believe so.
So we haven't done anything there. Okay.
I mean,
I
well, we
think we
may
should
have.
invite them to the table and ask for a discussion, because there are also other issues there. I had brought you a concern, it's been over a year now, but we went up and we did a little bit of graveling in front of where they have those dumpsters toward the roadside, and they said that someone hadn't graded, which I believe was on my route, whoever, you know, runs my route, it was them
Yes.
going out there, and they hadn't graded the other length of that road, which way? Because you're saying,
It's off that hill, come out 232.
I think it was, is this part of their,
Yeah, it'd be,
it was this way,
it'd be
remember
right
that
now.
one? And
Yeah.
because there are dumpsters, or no, it was down here, I'm sorry, at this end, at the second entrance in, right?
Yes.
So this is still along,
right there by lot 45. I believe.
yes, yeah. There was an issue with that little road going down, it kind of had developed a, what do you
But-
call that, with the, like an ATV trail, you know?
But if you look at this map that says Wilson Lake Estates and those items that are highlighted, those issues are issues that have changed from what the original plat was.
Okay,
And then there's two sections of road, I didn't highlight them, that connect with that there that are labeled as private road and we don't do anything to, so.
okay.
I guess I will make contact with them, see if we can get them at a commission meeting and then relate that to Dawn to get an appointment set up. Is that,
I think we need to discuss that and just kind
Wonder-
of meet it head on.
I don't know what you would do, I guess, fill all that dirt back up there, but then it's gonna cave out.
it's gonna go again, and he's done a little
Almost-
bit of preliminary stuff and
Maybe we should just put a guardrail on that side.
But then there's
All
nothing
along
to
there.
attach it to.
Huh?
There's nothing to attach it to.
you know, they're wanting to at
Then
least.
drill it in the ground. You've got posts you could put down 5 feet deep and then have them,
Yeah, I
like
guess
a
if you span
fence,
it.
like a
you
fence
span
there,
it.
so nobody runs off that cliff there.
That's dangerous.
That's what a farmer would do.
A couple of other,
Well,
we've got-
they're not, if you look the way this road goes though, which is right here,
Okay.
You know, it goes through the center of the property, and this gentleman's house is up here, so you're crossing through his property. You know, and they're wanting to make a temporary cut back here to make it wide enough and safe enough for a vehicle to be able to get through there. And,
You mean they wanna cut into the upper hillside?
And that's private property.
and that's private property.
We'd have to get permission from him and all that.
Is there county
Easements
right-of-ways?
and, you
County
know,
right-of-way.
I gotta,
Is that a real
Is there
county
even
road
county
right
right-of-way?
there?
That's what I'm
Does
saying,
it
is
even
it even a
exist?
county road?
Is that even a county road? Well, that's private property.
it was supposedly on the original plat. And that's
When
all I
they
know.
approved the plan to go
In the 70s.
Okay, I see what you're saying. Can we have that?
I'm gonna do some research.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I
Let's bring
just
that
haven't
to
had
the table.
time.
Well, that's fine.
Let's bring
Yes.
that to
That's-
the table
yeah.
with the association, that way we can have an open discussion.
Yeah, we'll get,
In the interest of time, do you guys have a lot more to go over?
That's kinda all I have for right now.
Yeah.
Tanner,
I
do you have
think.
Tanner, do you have
additional
anything?
stuff?
I'm still working on
Okay.
some other stuff.
Yeah,
Okay.
what we
Probably
talked
next
about
month.
in the
Right,
past couple
yeah.
meetings. Okay, so, I have two pieces of correspondence that pertain to you guys. The one is from Driscoll Law Offices about the block pit.
Okay.
I'll let you read it obviously, but basically they're saying that they would like us to comply with the initial reclamation plan, which is what I thought you brought to the table. And they want us to comply with that, which says that the property would be restored to its former farmland use. And they also claim that Scott Carlson, are you familiar with him? That I've spoken to Scott Carlson, who advised that he had been to Lincoln County this past spring. He did not approve the project at that time since the native grass was not growing. Is that, because I thought
Yes.
they hadn't done
Well-
it yet because we hadn't asked them.
No, we will go plant the grass. And our original reclamation said that it would be as brome, not native grass, but it's
But
just
this
been
says
too wet.
well, I guess farmland means the
we
grass is
claim
growing on it.
to
I-
grass, which would be brome or whatever. Unless you go with the,
So maybe we did not clearly communicate to this,
You know, and here it does say that,
oh, this is it?
yes, farmland,
Uh-huh, uh-huh. Brum,
replace overburden.
No.
so it's not
And
planted
then-
yet?
No,
Oh,
not
well
yet.
then, okay, so then
And
we
then
need to.
what types of species of grass and trees do you plant
Brome.
on 10 acres?
I see that.
Brome.
This is the, okay,
So,
okay. So I thought our letter to them said that we did intend to stick to this.
we do.
Okay.
That's
Then-
my intention, but the weather just hasn't been conducive to, we
then
had a
I
few
think
extra
we can
rocks.
probably wait on responding to them until we do get in the process of planting. How about
or
that?
we could tell them we're in, it's just been raining for 6 months and we can't get out there.
Well, the last time we corresponded with them from our end was in February, then we just received this a week ago.
Yeah.
Do you see, or 2 weeks, well,
You
a
would-
week ago.
Give them
Yeah,
that.
let's, well,
Here,
Dawn needs
Michael,
that
or
though.
Dawn gets that,
She
but you
needs
can
that.
look at it, Michael, and
The starting wage will be $13.05.
1305, okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, and then I have a request, from Corey Uhl that he is building a new house on Bison.
Mhm.
And so have you spoken with,
He mentioned it and I
Okay.
advised him to come in and visit with
it's
you guys.
1.5 miles west of the blacktop, and so the intersection that he's talking about, I believe he's saying that for a half a mile to the west from the intersection is dirt road that he would like to be reshaped and put some material on. Do you have some suggestions for that? Do you know what that's going to take?
It's very sandy, unstable soil right there. I can tell you that. I would have to get my right-of-way book out and look, but I'm pretty sure it's only 40-foot right-of-way, and it's very hard to maintain a decent gravel road with 40-foot of right-of-way. So right-of-way would need obtained,
Okay,
if it's only 40,
so could you get back to us
yes.
with that? And I'll just let him know that you're looking into that.
And then, I guess, you guys make your decision on what we gravel and what we don't when we're updating, so.
Well, this is the precise reason that I want that resolution revamped. Because the resolution basically says that anything goes. And so if we don't have any guidelines by which we determine the criteria for upgrading a road,
that's fine.
you know what I'm saying? I mean, this is the same issue that we ran into when we,
Steve Snyder.
yes, same exact. Well, maybe, potentially. That's all I had for,
All right.
for you guys.
I'll try to get a copy of this week.
I noticed we took quite a bit of gravel out of that Granzow pit, Michael, and was some people were unhappy that it was clay and sloppy and slimy and.
There,
Can we, I know.
the pit's not bad. Due to the water that was in there, we didn't get a good blend because we couldn't
Okay.
get the gravel that's deeper in the pit.
Because that clay stuff, if
Yes.
we can't get a better quality material, we might as well go somewhere else or do something.
No,
Because,
there's good gravel in there.
okay, because we don't wanna have to go back and have to put
I understand,
a rock
yes.
on it and people whining to you, whining
You
to
know,
us. You know, if we can prevent that.
It was a time constraint thing. You
I
know,
know.
everybody was wanting to get the Schneider Road done, so
Yeah,
you know we
yeah.
was trying to get it done as quickly as we could.
Well, then a union, that whole union drive, everybody complained. Okay.
And we didn't know at that time.
Well, I'm
that
just
it was
saying,
gonna
if we
be that way.
can't determine our quality, you know, and we have to go back and fix it all the time, we should maybe just ban these pits if they're not that good. Now, if you can say.
It's natural gravel, and it changes as you go through a pit. You know, there's no guarantee that you're going to get consistency.
I know, you gotta work with.
Without spending a lot of money and having a processing plant.
Processing to grade it, like Courtside does.
You
'Cause I
basically,
noticed you guys
you
put some-
separate all your different materials out, 3 or 4 different gradations, and then you gotta get a blending plant to start blending it to a specified mix.
Like Courtside does, and they get a good
Yeah,
quality.
but they don't
cake.
have any clay or anything in theirs.
Right.
You
That's why
gotta,
we-
have some clay and some binding
Well, a
material
little
to
bit.
hold it into
Well,
place.
a little bit, because I noticed you put it at the landfill, some new gravel with sand and rock, it was excellent up there, and you got that from Courtside, right?
You don't wanna know what that
Well, I know
costs.
it costs more, but if we have to redo these roads because it's crappy material,
The long-term
that costs
expense is
too.
much greater.
That costs too. I know.
If there's clay to hold it there. You know, there's nothing wrong with coming in and putting other material on top to spice up the natural gravel we use.
No.
Because it has the clay there to help hold your aggregate in place during dry weather and wet weather.
You want sun clay, but we have too much. It turned into slime.
In place,
Yeah.
yes. And that's when we top treat. But if we do not have that, all your loose material is just like marbles and it's gonna
Yeah.
blow away from traffic.
Well, I agree.
road
We just don't
traffic,
want
and
sand
everything
and
else.
rock. You want some clay too. But you need a binder there. Right now,
Yes.
every time we get too much of this clay. I told you about mailman and then driving sideways in the road. And I know you.
I understand that.
You deal
You
with
know,
what
we're-
I know. I'm feeling sorry for you because this is the stuff you have to deal with too. I know that, but it's just we have the same problem with that clay materials. Just and everybody calls and bitches and complains and I go, I don't know what to do about it. Could we spend more money and maybe get better material or something? I don't know. Whatever. Thank you.
Have you looked at your budget?
I'm
Are you
not
prepared
real
to
close.
present it at any time in the near future?
With this flooding and stuff, I honestly have not
Okay.
done a whole
Just,
lot on it.
that's coming up, so, okay, thank
Yeah.
You're
you,
looking at
Thanks.
1st of July.
Thanks.
thank you.
Okay.
We got Mr.
Okay, OCCK representatives, do we have anyone here for that?
They're out in the hallway.
Okay,
I'm gonna take 5 seconds.
sure,
Go back.
sure.
Come on.
Thank you. Good morning.
Hello. Here, we'll push this one around the side for you,
Oh, great, thank you.
and he'll be right back.
Okay.
Excuse me.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
You won't tell Al Joe I used his chair.
And then, should I leave one for,
Sure.
okay.
Randy Holman, I don't know. How are you?
Nice to meet you, Sheila Nelson Stout.
Okay, glad to meet you.
Yeah, Wallerius, Randy, nice
Glad to meet you too.
I believe I remember
Yes.
these two. Hello,
Yes.
hello, and maybe
I'm
not
Susan
you.
Sprague.
Okay, nice
Who?
to meet you.
Susan Sprague,
So I
nice
gotta
to meet
meet
you.
Okay, are you ready for me to get
Yes,
Yeah,
ma'am.
Okay.
Please
go
do.
right ahead.
Alrighty, well, first of all, it's glad to be here, or I'm glad to be here this morning. I have a packet of information and our request is contained in your packet for next year. As you know, OCCK provides a variety of services to the community. Anybody with any disability of any age can access our services. I brought a flyer that talked about what services we provided in Lincoln County this last year. We provided employment services to a young lady who wanted a job. We provided assistive technology to people, and assistive technology is bringing specialists or equipment into people's homes. We provide rides to people, of course, when they call in need. Home health services, basically any type of service that anybody with a disability needs to stay independent. We employ 3 people in Lincoln County. I'm asking this year for a 2% increase. It's been several years since we asked for an increase in Lincoln County. We expanded some services last year and hope to continue to expand more services this next year. So I have with me Susan Sprague, who's going to talk a little bit to you about Alzheimer's services and dementia services that I think we mentioned last year that we were trying to start. So Susan, if you want to talk about those, please.
OCCK started Alzheimer's support services a year ago in May. So we go out to families and we work with family caregivers and individuals. And when I talk about Alzheimer's, I mean all dementias, not just Alzheimer's supports. In particular, I've worked with a family in Lincoln County, and we were able to work with OCCK's Solution Outreach Center, which is assistive devices, on getting a lift. The woman is the caregiver. She's about 90 years old, and her husband is falling with Alzheimer's. So this lift isn't like a traditional lift you would imagine. It's about the size of a duffel bag. It's 13 pounds. So she is able to maneuver this lift and help her husband, and he's been able to stay home, which is where they're both wanting him to be. So one of these Alzheimer's supports, that's just an example, but one of her requests was she wanted to give back to her struggling with Alzheimer's supports as well. And so she asked if OCCK would be willing to help her get started a support group, and you'll see that in your folder. And that has been going on now for probably about 3 to 4 months in her community. In addition to Alzheimer's support services, OCCK offers brain injury services. Historically, these have been for traumatic injury to the brain, so like a car accident, a motorcycle accident. But in July of this year, those brain injury support services will expand to include non-traumatic injury to the brain. So this would be, for example, strokes or concussions, that type of thing. These supports include cognitive behavioral therapy, physical and OT therapy, those therapies that are after you've been in the hospital and you've returned home and you need those therapies to relearn skills in the home. I will point out too, there's a couple of things in your folder. The LEAP is a prevention program, so it's all about preventing Alzheimer's. And then the second is a workshop for helping professionals, so hospital discharge planners or people that are providing some type of support to individuals with dementia or their caregiver. And this is something that we were able to bring to our rural communities through a grant. Do you have any questions about any of that information? Okay.
Now, a lot of the Sport Lincoln gifts, isn't that through Beloit? A lot of it, I know you guys are out of Salina, right?
We would come from either direction, so
I
it
see.
depends on what service you want.
Okay, I see.
But yes, I
Because
know.
I've known that, it seems, I didn't know for sure how you dealt with Lincoln based out of Salina and Beloit. That's,
Sure. So if it's like transportation, it's probably gonna come from Salina. If it's assistive technology service, it's probably gonna come from Salina. But I know Barb also, is involved with Transition Councils, Barb, our regional
Yeah.
manager in Beloit.
Okay.
And so we would come from both sides, I guess.
Okay.
So yes.
I don't have any more.
No, I don't either. I see that you are requesting a 2% increase, so
Mhm.
I'll just note that
Great.
in here.
Great.
And we will be working on our budget
Yes.
in the next few weeks.
Okay. Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
guys.
Great, good. Nice to meet you again, thank you.
Thank you.
Nice to meet you too. Take care.
I'm sorry.
No, you're right.
Thanks.
Nice to
Thanks
meet
for
you.
coming. Thanks for coming.
Nice to meet you.
You too.
Thank you. Nice to meet you.
I'm not sure if your
Oh,
wall's here.
okay.
Got it.
Yeah. Guess we'll take a little break here. Alexis seems to be busy.
What's next on the agenda?
Mr. Mark Isley, Hub and Benefit Management Company. Is that you?
Yes.
Okay.
Do you have me on the agenda?
No, it was already drawn up by the time you,
Okay, but I'm on, I can be at the end or what?
well, yeah. As far as I'm concerned, you can be.
Bring up the end.
That might be after a long time. We got a big agenda today.
Yeah. You had planned to finish by 1:45?
Well, we hope, we hope to.
Well, you're running a little bit ahead.
Depends on, how fast things go. Are you here to talk about Lincoln Park Manor?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Are you
Mr.
ready?
Isley?
Mr.
Is that
Isley?
correct?
Nice
Okay.
to meet you.
Thank you for being patient.
Yeah,
I'm sorry
absolutely,
we're
no
behind.
Thank you, yeah.
Nice to meet you. I'm here as a follow-up to conversations I had with Dawn regarding
Yes.
employee benefits.
Right.
Big,
Yes.
big ticket item for your all's budget.
Yes.
I just brought this as a guide to go through our conversation
Okay.
today,
Awesome.
and share with you a little bit about some things Dawn and I talked about.
Okay.
Obviously, our business has changed quite a bit from going out and getting a plan and putting it in place to having to deal with all these things on this wheel. So it's become kind of a year-round process, and I know, first of all, we work with a number of counties. I've been doing this a long time, not quite as old as that road at the lake, but since mid-1980s,
When it's
so
fallen
30 plus
down.
years. I'm not old, I'm seasoned. But some of the county clients that we work with are Gary. We've worked with them for 27 years. Haskell, Morton, Stevens, Kearney, Harvey, Cloud, Republican, Lynn. So a lot of counties, a lot of government entities, and it kind of stems back from my time at Blue Cross, where they tend to have a lot of that business. And when I visited with Dawn, I think, and I'd like your input too, probably the three main areas that she felt was an area of trying to get things up, enhanced or improved, is employee communication in the lower bottom, employee engagement. And that deals with not only explaining benefits to employees as their new hires or at open enrollment, but there's a big gap in the middle. So constant communication, making sure they have a role. It's not just your role to control costs, but making sure they understand the plan.
Where's your base office?
Our office is in Wichita.
Wichita.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
And
And so they could just call in as
Yes.
an individual employee to the company and get a consult
Yeah.
for various.
yes,
Okay.
but quite really, every county's different. We work with a lot of them, but up in Cloud and Republic, we're kind of on site once a month, once every 2 months, just to be there.
Okay.
Some of these counties have had 3, 4, 5 different insurance companies in place, but we've been the constant, so we're working on behalf of the county, not necessarily insurance company. Doesn't mean we can get every claim paid that they want
Right,
paid,
right.
but making sure they understand it, because there's a lot of studies that show if they understand the benefits, they value the benefits. If you provide a Cadillac plan and they don't understand it, there's probably a lot of wasted
Absolutely,
money going
absolutely.
away. And so we really work with the county on the whole spectrum of payroll costs, employee costs, and making sure there's ways to divvy that up to make sure you're getting the most, your employees are getting the most for those dollars. And benchmarking where you fall among your competition. You probably don't compete with other counties for personnel, but it's
Potentially. I mean,
and I guess that's
potentially.
true with
It
moves.
depends
So
on-
you're
yeah,
hiring somebody coming
Yeah,
in.
or if you just want to
That's a
drive, you
good
commute
point.
to work, you could.
Exactly, and so helping you with benchmarking so we can share with you where you fall on the contribution schedule and so on. A couple other things, and I'll just leave these with you.
That's you provide
It's-
HR's resources too, huh?
Yes.
So you would help us out with as an HR function also?
Yes, probably not as a full-blown staff, but certainly to provide. Hub is the 6th largest broker in the world. I've been with them for 3.5, almost 4 years. I had my own agency for a number of years.
Doing
Because,
this?
yes,
Okay.
yeah. And my kid's too smart to go into insurance, so as far as like succession planning and having a big staff, I wanted to make sure that was protected. So Hub's been great. They're very decentralized because doing business here in Kansas is so much different in Kansas City or Oklahoma, and so they allow us to do the things we were doing, but they give us an army of resources and tools. This, for example, would be the team that actually would have a hand in some of the work around the year. 3 of them are in Wichita, 4 or 5 are in Tulsa, our regional hub, and then others around the state, the country. Compliance. You know, you have issues with your county attorney sometimes, but sometimes we can get you the HR answers that you need, or even your attorney needs before going out to outside counsel. So there's some lifesaver, or time and money savers there. This is another thing that we, again, not just counties but other groups that sometimes employees forget not only what they make in the upper right-hand corner there, but all of these other benefits.
Yeah, I think this is exactly what we're lacking.
Yeah.
Some sort of comprehensive and particular statement of just even all of their information as far as what they can access at any given time and not have to try to remember or
Yes.
call so-and-so for a password to get
Yes.
into the website and, yeah.
Absolutely. And a lot of times they forget what they're paying. And I know I talked with Dawn about that, and it's very common that number of employees probably signed up for benefits years ago voluntary, and they don't even realize
And you
they
just
have it.
continue to get the same
Yeah.
thing without even using the services
Yeah,
necessarily.
and I'm a believer in some of those other benefits, but I also am a believer in making sure employees can make an informed decision. If you have employees out there on specific illness type benefits but no disability, I want to educate them about that.
Are you currently working with any of those counties that are enrolled in the state pool?
Yes. Haskell. Right now Haskell. However, when we first engaged
Is that the
coverage,
only one?
it is, and their 3 years is up this year, just like yours is. So I'm
Interesting.
working with them right now.
What are you seeing as trends in the other counties?
Many have switched. Let me answer it
Oh,
this
sorry.
way. Haskell, Morton, Stevens, Cloud and Republic were all in the state plan when we first engaged them. And they hired us to do this. But then over time, we found that as the state's rates have gone up and the benefits have shrunk, many of the healthier groups have left. and then that leaves not as good a pool, because we've saved groups going in. We helped groups go into the plan years ago and saved hundreds
Right.
of thousands of
Right.
dollars, but now that we're
I
seeing
think
that
that's why our
reverse.
county made that choice. I mean, we had seen such a
Absolutely.
huge, or I'm told, I wasn't here, but I'm told that we had seen such a huge increase just from year
Yes.
to year. We felt like there was a little bit more stability signing a
Yep.
contract and
Yes.
then knowing kind of what you're getting.
Right,
But at this point, we're not sure if maybe even our base, our employee base's health status
Right.
has changed to the point where we may benefit from removing ourselves from
Right.
the situation.
and that's the process we would go through. In fact, I'm gonna give Dawn an email, she doesn't have it, but, the state was not gonna continue to give claims data, but one of our counties that we're working with right now got it, so I've got an email for you all to request that. It's just a 1 year, it's very simple, because you can't get
So that
private
way
health
you have
information.
the basic information.
Yes.
Like a cost report kind of thing to the
Yeah,
state.
it's just a 12-month for 2018, but it
Okay.
would allow us to more easily go out and get
Get
competitive
some
quotes.
statistics, yeah.
That we've saved, I mean, I think, looking at your plan, I think there is not only savings, but then
Right,
adding
the
this other
resources. So how
information.
soon can something like that happen? Because when do we have to give notification?
You have to give notice to them by October 1st, and there's some technical things that need to be done that we can help you with. And so it's really time,
Yes.
depending on what you see as a need. I mean, certainly the marketing and looking at all those options is important. And then we believe a number of these things, continual conversations with the key stakeholders in figuring out what areas do you think you need improvement in to get that done, whether you stay at the state or not.
Do you perform brokering services?
Yes.
Separately from contracting the rest of these duties?
Generally, we do the whole thing.
I understand that, I'm just asking. I mean, is that-
As far as the plan,
I'm saying
mean-
hypothetically, if we have to give notice by October 1st,
yes,
are we able to hire your company to do a brokering service for us so that we can get instituted into a new plan with
Yes.
a particular company?
yes,
And then, because we've had an open position we created, an
Correct.
HR position, and it's open, and we're not
Right.
sure what to do with that at this
Right.
point. We contemplated part-time, full-time, oh, excuse me,
Right.
now we're contemplating
Yeah.
contracting some
Yeah.
things. So really, that's not solidified for us at this point, and I'm just wondering, what are our options with you?
I think my suggestion would be starting that process and working with you to see what the specific needs are, because I can tell you a few of these counties have HR departments, not just one person, but a few
Multiple.
people. Others don't, and so what we bring to the table is different
We
for
may be able
those.
to assess
Yes.
where we are
Yes.
after interacting with your company.
Yes.
Yeah.
And to me, the reason it's hard to answer is because I need, other than the hour I shared, is knowing what other initiatives she has, which I
Right.
know are many, to see what are the priorities as far as your internal capabilities and goals, I'm sorry.
So, no, I understand where you're going with that, and just along those lines,
Yes.
outside of this employee communication side,
Mhm.
with the management of the health insurance particularly, what HR resources do you offer as far as any kind of personnel, database tracking?
Great question.
Yeah,
That's under the technology and enrollment, on the lower left. Ease of enrollment, ease of maintaining plans and documents, so that we do have a benefits administrative system we provide you as part of this.
so basically you're saying anything pertaining to an employee with their benefits plan
Yes, with their
is
benefits plan, yes,
potentially
Yes.
encompassed in your service?
yes,
Okay.
yes. And over the years, we deal with our fee generally for a number of these counties. I can tell you today, it'd probably be $12,000 a year, which is about 1.5% or so of your annual spend.
You're giving us that approximate number for your
Yes,
services?
yes.
And that's, basically, we
Annually.
have about 80 employees?
Yes.
and- Okay.
And
And so how does that work? Is
okay,
this contract?
so I've never with any of these done a contract, but I have no problem doing a contract. I don't like multi-year contracts.
Okay.
I've had Gary County for 20-some years without a contract,
Okay.
and so if it's never a doesn't continue to be a win-win, then you should have the ability to leave that arrangement, but we'll work that out however you want. The other thing is, however, we have some counties that blend my rate into the health rate, So, we don't care.
I understand.
Because sometimes if, let's say you pay 80% of that fee, the employees to me are benefiting from our service as well, but it's up to you all to determine how you wanna do
Right.
that. Sometimes they want it in the fee so that the employee's picking up part of that 12,000.
Right.
And then there are some ancillary coverages you have, generally those do have some commission in it, would be in addition to that.
What would those, just an example?
Life, I don't even know if you have a life, I can't remember, group life or
No, we do not.
dental, vision, those things. A lot of those things
Okay.
don't have
Okay.
the sales force, so they rely on brokers, and it's a
Okay.
much, much smaller premium, but generally there's fees
So
there.
that's something we could assign to the individual instead of the county fee. So how do you assess a fee for 12,000 based on, I mean, you're not, I'm assuming you would hope that this is more than a 1 year time commitment for you.
Absolutely, because there's a lot
So,
up front,
right,
absolutely.
And everything that's going to need to be communicated is a lot more work on your end
Yes.
initially than it is down the road.
Right.
So,
And,
but you
and-
feel that you feel that your clients have been so pleased with the services that you don't need a
Yes,
contract to
and I-
guarantee that you're not doing as much work
That's-
next year as you do this year.
well,
You know,
I don't know if we do any I mean, there's a lot more fact gathering up front.
Yeah.
But as far as labor, it's
I mean, I would
about the
assume that
same.
an employee who contacts the company to
Mhm.
get some of their information, once they've been in contact a couple of times, they're not needing as much support.
If we're doing, that's right.
Uh-huh.
That's right, because we're doing a lot of videos, and I think I sent one, because, some people can take a 3-page memo and they'll just look at it and said, I'm not gonna read it. And so we've done videos and doing different kinds of
Yeah,
media.
all this visual is really good. I mean, it's,
Yeah, and so I can tell you that the ones closest to here, Cloud Republic, I think those are the closest. We've been on fee basis in
Like
that
on
same
your
ballpark.
sample-
Yes,
On your
yes,
sample here, like you have your different, like medical, dental, vision.
Yes.
This medical now, is there different companies, I see you have United Health.
Yes.
United Healthcare Choice as one, but that wouldn't help.
Correct.
So you
So-
have others besides that.
To us, you've got 3 options here in Kansas.
Okay.
Blue Cross, outside the state plan,
Yeah,
Aetna, and United Health.
United Healthcare.
Unfortunately, we don't have 10 to 12 to choose from.
No, that's fine, but most of those are the big 3 anyway.
They really are.
I just gonna say, cause
which doesn't necessarily.
well, I see United Health there, I had that before previously, and, some doctors did not.
How long ago? That's a great point. How
About a
long
year or
ago?
two ago, about a year or two ago.
Oh, really?
Well,
Because they've
because
made a lot of
doc-
strides, because I can tell you 4 years ago,
Yeah.
there were a lot of like the railroad and stuff
Yeah.
that had United, because they're big national.
Yeah.
But they didn't make any inroads in Kansas till a
Right.
few years ago, so it's done a lot better, but that's part of our,
Well, I had them, and I had some doctors wouldn't
Right.
take them, and then whereas they would with Blue Cross.
correct.
So I'm just saying, like you have
That's
this,
part of
See, and
that
that's part of-
provider
that's-
push to be
that-
a provider to be,
And I'm sure-
Yes,
probably-
but that's part of our job too, is
Yeah.
not just to look at a spreadsheet and say, here,
Yeah.
look, same deductible, same cost.
Yeah.
But that's just, that doesn't
Well,
show
I
up
had
on
that problem
spreadsheets.
because I
the
had-
reality of the
because I had
application.
like a ophthalmologist I go to because I'm a
mhm.
candidate for some eyes problems. He wouldn't take that but he would do Blue Cross, I used to have. it
Right.
before. So I just wanna make sure if we offer, say, United Health, make sure our
Absolutely.
employees
Absolutely.
know that they got their regular doctor, and all of a sudden they take
Right.
United Health and they
Right.
won't take it, and they'll
Right.
go, what the hell's going on?
You know, the
You
only.
know, that's one thing I wanna be careful of.
Absolutely, and that's, again, part of our job, because
Yeah.
that's why I like having our kind of separate, because we have no vested interest in one
Yeah,
over
or
the
one or
other.
the other,
It's
yeah.
really helping
Right.
you all make
And
an
it's
Sure,
nice to
informed
have a
yeah.
decision.
third party perspective.
And I know Blue Cross probably cost a little more for premium, but it seems like they're the blue chip of healthcare.
Right.
At least in
And,
Canada.
and that's a big reason, there's, the others
No,
have
you
caught
don't
up,
like 'em?
the others have come up, the others have caught up as far as discounts.
Pre-existing conditions.
Out of just my
Yes.
own particular interest,
Uh-huh.
what is the roadblock for why we have this monopoly with these 3 particular companies?
Kansas.
But what? I mean,
It's numbers, I mean, they're in the Kansas, the metro areas, they focus there first and branch out, and that's why.
so really, no one's gonna provide an option
No.
somewhere where they have to do such outreach to
Correct,
get there because
right,
we're
because they all
rural
wanna
and-
build their own
And
network.
all of Kansas
And
is
there's-
rural except for 2, yeah, I
Exactly,
get
so
it,
they're gonna
okay.
have to go out individually to all these
Right,
dumps, and
it's
it's
not
just
worth the
hard.
cost, it's an overhead expense.
Or there's networks built for them, but they go out and they recruit a dog and say, it's only a 10% discount instead of the 40 you give Blue Cross. They'll say, oh, I'll sign up. But then that doesn't help you all, because then the insurance company's paying retail instead of wholesale,
Yeah.
and that causes your rates to go up. So
Yeah.
there's all those things come into
Interesting.
play.
Okay.
Compliance is the other thing. The state's kind of been done some of your compliance for you because of this healthcare reform rules, but that's part of what we would work with Dawn on as well to avoid penalties.
There's no particular contract about how do we become a signatory, basically?
If it's easier, then we would draw one up, absolutely fine. But I've just never been a believer in trying to lock somebody into something.
That's fine. I'm not saying it's necessary if you're giving us basically a history of
right.
saying that you've worked with these places and you've continued to work
Correct.
with them. So that's a great, reference. I'm just wondering, do we, for example, you just know that you have Lincoln County as a client. So when a person calls in and says,
Yep.
I'm a Lincoln County employee, then you automatically take care of them on an individual basis.
Yes.
Is that how it works?
Yes,
Okay.
but it's important to get it introduced, whether it's memo or somehow to the employees, make sure they know
So
that.
would your company come and do a presentation on
Mhm.
site that we could do an employee,
Open enrollment,
mhm.
and if there's a need before then, yes. And a lot of it, I heard you say you're working on budgets coming up, so if there's messaging there, it's never good to wait till the last minute.
Right.
And so if we can help out in that communication or this kind of communication, I mean, that's what we work with those clients on. We're starting to do a lot more in capers or retirement education, so we can have employees and spouses come in as they get closer, so they understand, because you hear those words, you turn it off, but then comes the time, within 5 years from there, you really need to pay attention to that stuff, so, and understand your options as you retire, so, we don't get them into capers a great deal, but Medicare and those kinds of things,
So-
we make sure they know what they can do. Go ahead.
Let's say our payroll, which is currently coming out of the clerk's office,
Mhm.
when they do the deductions and they take out, the healthcare
Mhm,
payment portion, do you just maintain contact with that payroll person so that you know if there's a change or anything in the dollar amount? Let's
Yes.
say you just inform them so that they know what to input for the.
For employees, and your payroll,
Right.
if you do it here,
Right.
yeah, absolutely. And so this is Geary County's.
I mean, you don't provide payroll services.
No.
Right, okay.
No, but we have a team that works with you if you ever want to outsource that, for example, to make sure it's a good fit for you, and go out and kind of do broker service for that and help negotiate a good deal. But this is a sample packet that new hires would get at Geary County. For Geary County,
Okay.
probably 5 to 10, we're up there every month going over this with them. And truly explaining what deductible means and all that stuff. And I think one area of compliance that I saw, I know you have some voluntary products that the government's kind of come out recently and indicated that some of those things probably shouldn't be pre-taxed. And I'm gonna leave this with you just because if somebody had a cancer plan, they get 20, 30,000 in tax, or a benefit, they have to pay tax on that. Well, they may not understand that when they save $2 on a pre-tax premium, it's kind of like disability. You don't want to save a couple bucks now
Just
and pay a
spend
huge
more
amount
later, right?
And so those are some of the early things that I see between now and October 1st as
Okay.
part of your decision on the plans for 2020 is going over all of these areas.
So how much time would you say that you would need to do a thorough assessment?
We're pretty close.
Yeah, so
because-
we really need to discuss this in the
Yeah.
next week or two.
Yeah, I think
Okay.
so, because they used to wait 90 days. Well, you can't wait 90 days till January if you've got to give notice to 90. So those three carriers understand we've got to do things earlier. And if we can get that claims data, that will even help a little further. So, but it's kind of time for not only the marketing, but trying to help you all understand where you're at and where there might be opportunities to make some improvements there, so.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay, thank you very much.
No,
Oh,
thank
let me
you.
give you a
I
card.
appreciate all the information.
yeah,
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, anything comes up, please
Thank you
call.
very much.
Nice meeting, Bill.
Yes,
yeah.
nice to meet
You
you.
too.
Have a safe trip.
All right, thank you.
Okay, let's skip
At
to,
least you gotta go to him.
Yes, is this
Read
Mr.
you
Day?
Mr. Day?
Yes.
would you please
Why
come
don't we
down?
just do him and then
Yeah.
we'll do the road bridge
Yeah.
later.
Yeah.
And then get out of here.
Yes, I know. Well, we have our interview. She put our interview on there.
Yeah, but
You
I
take
mean,
a
we
break.
can redo
Yes.
this road bridge review. We can do
Yes,
that later.
I agree. Yeah, I think there's too much going on today.
Yeah,
Too
Thank-
much
Thank you.
going on.
Too much.
Can't imagine.
Is that such a thing?
Is there?
Just
yeah.
leave it right there
You
in
can
that
just
pile,
leave it
please.
over
Thank you.
here. Thank you.
Okay. And I just spoke with Dawn last week, and she asked if I could come and just kind of give an overview.
Sure.
I'm with Day Insurance Solutions. My name is Scott Day. I'm with, we're located in Topeka, Kansas. And I have spent the last 8 years being a commissioner on your health insurance plan, on the state employee health plan. So I have a lot of knowledge of your current plan designs and the rates and all of that. So I know how those plans work, how your prescription programs work. I mean, a lot of times when you go to other carriers and stuff, sometimes it can be hard to match that plan because most plans come with a copay on prescriptions and you have a percent. I mean, you pay 20% towards generics and stuff like that. And so one of the options that I look at is a plan that I can build, and I build it to match your prescription program so that, because my goal is trying to keep everything to your employees to feel familiar, if as familiar as possible. Doesn't always work. My plans don't always come in the lowest cost. I mean, it all depends sometimes on underwriting and stuff like that. But
So you're basically saying you can create a customized.
with one of my programs, yes, I do a lot with medical expense reimbursement plans. Those are similar to an HRA, a health reimbursement. They fall under the Section 105 rules.
And our city of Lincoln is currently.
City of Lincoln is currently on that, yes. I have them on a medical expense reimbursement plan. And typically what I do is I build the plan. I can customize it so I can build the prescription component to be exactly the same. And I typically will try to build a better plan. I mean, like the state employee health plan, I mean, you have like $40 copays now on your office visits. I mean, that's very high for an office visit. And so, I mean, I typically will build plans with $25 copays. I mean, $30 at the max and stuff like that. But what I do is I am a brokerage, so I contact different insurance carriers, and I get a variety of different plans. I mean, we'll get fully insured plans from Blue Cross and United Healthcare. I'll get self-funded quotes, you know, from different carriers as well. I'll do
What
that.
was your experience with the self-funded?
Oh, and with a group that's
Was it
smaller,
correct? Yeah.
they work great.
I mean, do you consider us small with 80, I assume?
A little. I mean, you're a little small. I mean, typically self-funded was written for groups that are over 100 and stuff like that.
Okay.
And so with an 80-person group, you're a little bit bigger
On
than
the
the small
cusp.
group market.
Okay.
I mean, in the small group market, self-funded plans,
I'm not.
you can have 2 bad claims, and those can really jack
Yeah.
your premiums up.
Yeah.
So you're a little bigger with 80 employees. I mean, that's better because a lot of them, those small group self-funded, range from 25 to 60, somewhere in there, and those are more tumultuous. But no, I mean, unless you have an excess of claims, an 80-person group should survive that just fine. But it all depends
But
on your
yeah,
claims.
it's very unpredictable, basically. Yeah.
It's more or less, it's not as stable as fully insured and stuff like that, but it can be, because I mean, it just depends on your carrier and stuff that you get on the fully insured market. But we try to get a variety of quotes from Blue Cross. You know, I'll look at fully insured, I'll look at fully insured medical expense plans, I look at the self-funded arena, and we try to look at all markets to find the best possible solution for you. I also look and quote at the Delta Dental and the Surrency, because those are 2 plans you're currently on right now. You currently are on Blue Cross. probably Plan A, where most of your employees will fall. And even that plan used to be a Cadillac, but it's no longer a Cadillac. I mean, it has a $6,500 out-of-pocket maximum now. And so it's not a Cadillac. I mean, we can find better plan designs, lower out-of-pockets, which is one of my goals, is to lower your employees' out-of-pockets, because I'm an insurance guy. I mean, the copays are nice and all that, but, you know, how much are you going to owe if you have a hospital stay? Well, that's the out-of-pocket maximum. You're going to get a bill for $6,500.
Right.
And so I try to look at ways to lower that. I mean, the state plan it's not a Cadillac anymore. I mean, it really isn't. I do quote comparisons and analysis comparing to your current plan, because if I can't improve your situation, I recommend you stay put on the state employee health plan. I mean, I'm a do no harm broker. I mean, I'm not here to try to sell you something and then get you on and then
High risk, yeah.
and then you can't leave, or because I don't know yet your underwriting. I mean, I don't know how sick or how healthy your group is.
How long would it take you to put something together to get an idea of what our potential options are?
Not long. I mean, like with Blue Cross and with United Healthcare, I can get an underwritten quote in a couple weeks, and it'll be based off of a census. I mean, they use a program called GRX, and it's a national database of prescriptions, basically, and they look up your employees' prescriptions off of GRX, and they will give us a firm rate.
Because that would indicate the type and level of
Yes.
healthcare that's being provided to that particular group.
To an extent, yes.
So is that how they put together the data on like regional health concerns? Like, would that be the database for that? Like, if you know that Kansas has a higher heart issue, you know, heart disease issue, that would be because more people per capita are on heart disease medication.
Yes, and the
Is that the
insurance
idea behind
companies, yeah, because like western Kansas, eastern Kansas can have totally different rates, because the state's divided into 7 zones. And so they kind of track the health data in those zones. The GRX is tracking your prescription data. I mean, because...
But I mean, they're using that to link to the type of treatment, because obviously you're not going to go out and ask each individual. You can't access their personal health information, but if you're seeing the numbers as to what's being sold prescription-wise, then you know what issues are being
They
treated
have an idea.
regionally.
Yes.
Yeah, that's interesting.
And the self-funded options are going to want more data than that. They won't give us a quote based off of the GRX census. So I mean, to answer your question, to give you an idea, I can get an idea pretty quick off of GRX.
Okay.
I mean...
but to have an individually curtailed plan, it would take 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 3 months.
Oh, it shouldn't take that long
Okay.
for us. I mean, once I get the quotes, the issue with you being on the state employee health plan is the state requires you to notify them by October 1st.
Yeah.
Most of the carriers quote January 1 starting in October 1st.
Okay. Well, we knew we were going to kind of run into this because we were hoping to have an HR person in that role doing some of this at the end of the year last year. So I see that we're running into a time constraint.
So you're going to have that time constraint. Now then, some of my carriers, the quote they give us, they will carry it over and extend it to January 1. But I know 2 of them, like Aetna and United Healthcare, that's based on you not having a major census change. Because, you know, we quote in August for January. You vote in September whether to stay or go. Then you have, you know, October, November, and December we got to get through, hoping that you don't have a lot of census change. People terminating you new hiring. Because if there's a lot of census change, I will have to send in a new census, get it re-underwritten. I mean, they
what do you
won't
think the
guarantee.
percentage change would be?
It's usually under 10%.
Okay, so
around
you're talking
10%.
we could potentially look at giving ourselves a flex of 10% increase.
Or 10%,
Either
and they
way.
would hold the rate. I mean, if we didn't have more than like 6 to 8 employees leave, they would probably hold the rate.
Oh, you're talking about the percentage change in our census.
In your
I was talking about the
census.
percentage change in the price. If they were going to.
It would all depend on if you lost
If lost,
8
yes.
healthy ones and
Or-
hired
I
8 sick
understand.
ones.
I
It could be
understand.
higher.
I see what you're saying.
Yes.
Okay, that makes sense.
And
So if we're within a 10% change in our census, then it shouldn't affect too much, depending on.
correct.
Okay, but that makes sense, and we probably wouldn't be over that.
I can't imagine that
I
you
don't
have
think we would be.
huge changes.
I mean, there's some trends in turnover, but I would say those are long-term trends, not
Mhm.
frequent by season or something like
Mhm.
that, where you'd expect it to happen between now and the end of the year.
Sure.
Okay.
No,
That's
and I do like to quote Blue Cross. I can get quotes from Blue Cross, and I do like to quote them because I've had more success moving groups off the state employee health plan and no rate increase. They've honored their rate, underwritten, early, more than any of my carriers. I mean, so I do want to quote Blue Cross. I mean, for me, that's just a must. I mean, I've had more luck transitioning, especially groups over 50. Now, if you were a group under 50, the small group market those rates are filed. I mean, they go up 6% or 4% every quarter. And so I can just do easy projections off of your rates. But in the large group market, it's underwritten. I mean, it's based on your employees' health and their status and the number of meds they take. And people complain, why should meds change the cost of health insurance? I mean, I've got a bank in Topeka with 50 employees. One child takes a med that's $5,000 a month. That's $60,000 in 1 year. I mean, meds can be costly. So,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
but no. Some of the other things that we try to do for you is I try to make the enrollments easy. I do use an online enrollment platform. Your employees currently enroll online with the state employee health plan. I have an online enrollment platform as well. I use a program called Easy Apps Online, and we can put in all your benefits in there, and then the employees go in and make the selections. I mean, currently you have the health plans and Delta Dental and Surrency Vision, and then the state installed Metropolitan Life on the supplements last year. I think they had Colonial 2 years ago, and then Metropolitan Life. And I'm not sure if any of your employees take the supplements through the state or.
Supplemental insurance?
Yeah, like an Aflac type product. I mean, accident plans.
We allow those third-party companies to come in and individuals to choose.
Oh, from a variety.
Yes, from
Okay.
any. Yeah, it's basically anything that's available, especially the ones that choose to come and present. So, I mean, at least that's my understanding, right, Dawn? When someone chooses a supplemental plan, it's their choice of whatever provider. Yeah. So,
Okay.
yeah, we don't have like a set.
So you didn't go with the state's Metropolitan Life. Okay.
So a few questions for you then.
Mm-hmm.
How many employees do you have?
Just 4.
Okay. And then, so if we had individuals that, I mean, is your service part of providing that constant communication with any particular employee that we have at any time? Or are you just dealing with our administration and then we're supposed to disperse the information?
No. I mean, your administration will disperse some information, but we're fully here to serve your employees. So like whenever we do, and I would come out and do any benefit meetings if desired. I mean, I've got some employers, they want to do the benefit meetings.
Well, I don't know if you heard, I was explaining to the last presenter, we're in limbo right now with our HR department because what we did was we separated out a budget for HR. We were pulling it out of our clerk's office, but right now we don't have that position filled. So we're kind of looking at these contracting options. So I guess I'm asking, when we do business with your company, is your company there as a full service provider to each individual employee?
Yes.
That way they're not going, I mean, I know you'd have a point of contact with us, but we wouldn't be expecting our HR personnel to administer your information.
I try to take as much of the load and burden off of your employees here. I mean, And see, and each HR person is different.
Yeah.
Because I've got some groups, the HR person wants to do it all. I've got others, the HR person says,
Please
you
do
want
it
to do
all."
it,
Yes.
please take it.
Right, right.
And so
So how do you charge us? How do you charge?
I don't. I'm a commission-based brokerage. There are brokerages out there that are consultation-based. They will charge you a big fee to do all services. I go just only on the commissions that the insurance companies will pay. And so I feel like, for me, I feel like that's an advantage to you. Because as a commission-based broker, if you want to get rid of me, you can get rid of me. I mean, when you have a consulting fee, those are usually contracts. They can be 2 to 3 years. I mean, and you're stuck with that broker for 2 to 3 years. You know, if you
So
don't
how
like,
does the commission work? I guess I'm.
most of the carriers will quote a commission up to 5%. I generally ask for 3%
Okay.
on it. I don't want to be greedy.
So that's based on the total amount of what the
Of the
payout
premium?
for the plan is?
Of the
Okay.
premium of the,
Okay.
like,
So
medical
whatever,
insurance.
whatever it
Mhm.
comes to for all individual plans added together.
just on the health insurance.
Just health insurance.
Like the Delta Dental on a group your size, they'll pay just like a 1% commission. They
Okay.
don't pay very
And
much.
that Surrogacy vision, they'll do a little bit too.
Yeah, I'll have to look, but I think it's 5%.
Okay.
But like Blue Cross or some would be a big one, you would get, say, 3% commission.
Well, Blue Cross won't pay me.
Oh,
And so it depends on what
Yeah,
we
so how
do
does that
with
work?
Blue Cross.
Yeah.
If we do a medical expense plan with Blue Cross, I have my TPA built in my fee, and they pay me.
What's
If,
TPA? What's TPA?
third-party administrator.
Okay.
Remember I said I can customize a plan?
mhm.
They administer that plan.
I see, okay.
And so, if it's Blue Cross direct, a regular copay, I negotiate a commission that you think is fair. And I don't ask for over 3%. A lot of brokers will do 5%.
So how long have you been doing this?
17 years? I was in education up till 2002. 2003. God, it seems a long time ago. But
Excuse me.
no, I do not, because I just feel strongly that a lot of the consultants I saw sitting not too far from here, they had to pay $2,000 consultancy fee just to have the consultant quote. Some consultants do that. Some may not. They may just consider it. Everything I do is free of charge to you unless you pick my products, and then I am paid by the insurance company.
Okay.
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 I mean, there's different philosophies on it.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like I don't want to lock you into a contract because I could get lazy. I mean, if I got you for 2 to 3 years, you know, my customer service could get better as we get closer to the end of the. I feel like without a contract, I need to serve you. I need to serve your employees.
So you're kind of being asked to be available on an as-needed basis, is what I'm gathering. I mean,
Well, yeah, if you have employees having trouble, if they're having issues with claims and stuff, they should contact us.
I'm saying
I mean,
you're getting the commission based on the price, but then your customer service availability is just as needed.
Is
Because
based off of
if
your-
our
yes.
administration contacts you, that's not a commissionable issue. So you're
Correct.
already, your commission is based on what plan and what premiums we're paying.
Mhm.
And then our need for your services as consult to our employees is just as it comes up.
Yes, I mean, whenever we do the benefits meetings, all your employees get our information, our 800 number and stuff like that. I tell the employees, because the employees will forget about whoever's sitting here. They do. I mean, they forget. They'll have an issue, and it's with Blue Cross, and they'll call Blue Cross.
Uh-huh.
Or they'll contact,
Yes.
Dawn, or
Yes.
a lot of times I found they go to the HR person
Right.
and gripe and complain.
And that's what we're trying to address.
Yes. And
Where to send them, because
we
obviously
want
none of
them
us
to
have
come
that
to,
information, right?
we want them to come to us.
Right.
Because a lot of times, depending on what they tell us, I know 95% of problems are from the provider and the way they filed the claim. I mean, that's just,
Yeah, that
Yeah.
makes sense. Yeah.
that's where most of the problems come from.
Yeah.
But we ask your employees to contact us. And I tell them, if you're getting aggravated and you're starting to pull your hair out, don't let it get that far. But if you just need to yell at somebody, call me and yell at me. I mean, I've got broad shoulders. I've had my butt chewed on most of my life. I mean,
So if the employee has questions, and let's say we're on the Blue Cross Blue Shield plan, and they need help logging in to see their information within the Blue Cross Blue Shield website, is that something they can call? You can walk them through? I mean, those are some of the issues we're having. We have a generational gap with the technology, doing things online, having access to that kind of information versus, it was commented earlier, no, sometimes people won't read a memo, things like that.
Right.
Is that kind of...
we can assist with everything you described there, yes.
Okay.
I also come out and do all the benefits meetings, if that's desired of the HR person. Come out and I prefer to do the online because we can download all the apps. We can email it to your HR person. They have it for the files. I can download through Easy Apps the payroll deductions so that they can just easily look at a downloaded spreadsheet with each person's policy that they selected and how much the premium is, and they can plug it in for payroll. I don't know if HR is going to do your payroll or what, but our program will do all of that as well. We do all the customer service.
So you would do all the calculations and then you would just transfer that information for our data entry on our end?
Yes, I get the premium. I mean, like...
Right, because you have direct access to the actual health insurance plan information and the premiums, et cetera, but then you would transfer that information by identification of each employee, and then
Yes.
so it can be plugged into their payroll.
And then I work with your HR person to find out what the employee, because see, you're contributing.
Right, our
toward
percentage, right.
So we put in so that the employees, when they log in and enroll online, they see what their cost is per pay period,
Right.
and then that downloads down.
So
And
no matter what our breakdown is, for example, right now, the county is paying 90% of any plan that they're given the option to do.
Mhm.
So if we change that and say, let's say we pay 100% of the individual plan, but then we change it to only paying 60% of the family plan,
Mhm.
you would still do all those calculations
Mhm.
per individual employee so that our payroll person can data entry the amount that's deducted from their paycheck versus what the county's contribution is going to be.
Yes.
Yeah, that's exactly what we need.
Easy Apps will do all of that, yes.
Now, I see you say your enrollment elections. These are like the Blue Cross Blue Shield.
That's a sample that I
These are just
downloaded.
samples.
Yeah,
You
this-
could do other options
Yes.
besides this.
Yes.
You just throw them out there as a sample. That's not just all you got.
No,
Okay,
this was just
okay.
a sample
Okay,
from
that's what I
another
thought.
employer.
That's what I thought. I was just, okay, very good.
See, and that shows you too, this was an employer that only paid 50%.
Mhm.
And so, and that was 50% of the employee
Right, so
only.
it breaks
Right.
down the employee
So
costs.
it breaks out, and I download that into a spreadsheet. And we do this when open enrollment's closed, everybody's made their selections. And,
And you just have the portions broken down
yes.
by plan and by percentage of county employees.
That's just an example. That's what I thought.
Yeah,
I just thought that wasn't your.
This was an
own.
example, no, I wanted to show health, dental, vision,
Yeah, what
and
you
then
got.
there was a couple supplements.
Sure. No, that sounds good. Or looks good, I mean.
And then Easy Apps, I also put in all your federal notices. I make all your employees view the federal notices because there's big fines. Every employer is to hand out federal notices every year. And I have found a lot of employers do that. No, they do it. They hand them out. But then they don't have any proof that they did it. I mean, that's what I have found. I mean, and so I like to do the Easy Apps because I put all the federal notices in there. And while the employees are selecting benefits, before they can leave, they have to view all the federal notices. And Easy Apps provides a date stamp of when each employee, the day they went in and the time that they clicked, that they finished seeing all the federal notices, and we can download and have proof that
It was
you, the county, gave
provided to
out
each-
all the federal notices. Because the fine for not giving a summary of benefits of coverage is $1,000 per employee.
Wow.
I
And
mean,
without
that's just-
provide proof, then
Yes.
you could be accused of not having done
Yes.
it. Yeah, that's interesting.
And so I love to use Easy Apps because, and then going forward, Easy Apps just disseminates the information onto your applications, and it allows us to put in the federal notices in there. And then when you have new hires, we have the employees go in and do their same benefit selections that we did at open enrollment with your employees, and they pick their plans, their health, their dental, maybe they waive the vision, you know. It provides waivers because a lot of employers don't do a good job of keeping waivers on employees. And I tell employers those are very important. I mean, you should have a waiver on every benefit. I mean, because
A signed waiver, not just that they elected the option in their enrollment, but an actual verification of the waiver of whatever.
because all it takes is one employee to come in and say, "Well, I didn't
It
know
wasn't
you
offered
had
to me, yeah.
this,"
Yeah.
and you would probably lose that court case.
Yeah.
You know, if they
Interesting. Yeah.
Sued you.
sued you and they had a
Well, in
cancer
civil
and
court,
you didn't
you're
have proof
guilty
that you
until
offered the health
proven
insurance
innocent.
to them.
Right. Okay.
Right.
And so, Easy Apps, we have everybody go through it, and then the employees elect, the employees waiving, and some of them may just waive the health, take dental and vision because they're on Medicare. I mean, they can do make those types of selections, but we will have the proof that, you know, here's their enrollments and here's their waivers, and we have everything, you know, in place, documented, because,
And you covered yourself.
yes, because the Department of Labor is going to audit. I mean, I've been reading that they're going to increase their audits because of Obamacare, and there's going to be more and more audits going out. And governments like yourself are not immune to that. I mean, and there's big fines. I mean, HIPAA notices. I mean, Medicare notices, S-chip notices. We put all that in so that when your employees go in to view the benefits, they have to look them over. We get a time date stamp on them. And we've got the proof that we showed all the notices and that we offered all the benefits and stuff like that.
All
All
right.
right. I don't have any more questions.
I don't
think
either.
you've answered everything. It's an interesting concept.
Thanks a lot for
Yes,
coming here.
thank you.
Well, and I just pledge that I'm do no harm. I mean, if you're better served staying on the state employee health plan, I'll recommend that. If quotes,
We'll have to determine that.
yes.
Where we stand with this stuff.
Yeah.
Yes, it'll depend on basically the health of your group. I mean, because it's quite possible the self-funded and the fully insured quotes will come in higher than state. If you got a bunch of cancer meds on your GRX, I mean, those quotes are going to come in high, but I will know early.
Yeah.
I mean, I would know early.
Yeah, you can kind of be prepared to know what you're looking at before the selections are made by each person, and then we can, I mean, I think some of the issue that we ran into was, you mentioned Plan A. It's kind of just like the default, but it doesn't necessarily mean that everyone needs Plan A, and if they haven't been explained the difference between selecting Plan A and Plan C, it may be more beneficial for the county and the same benefit for the employee to select the different plans. But they're actually making an increase in cost to the county by selecting Plan A just because it's kind of the default setting. Does that sound familiar at all?
Yeah.
Or, okay.
And with the two counties that I have, I built a plan that was better than Plan A, and I built a better health savings account that was better than Plan C. I mean, my goal is to try to keep things familiar if possible. I mean, I want it to be familiar to the employees. And not just familiar, but also to be a better plan is my goal. But doesn't always happen. It depends on underwriting and all of that. But with the GRX, we would be able to get quotes pretty rapidly. And then if the GRX is coming in high, I wouldn't recommend doing the the self-funded. I mean, the self-funded products that we have, they would require the employees to answer probably 3 to 5 health questions they're pretty broad health questions. I mean, they'll ask if you've had cancer, heart issue. I mean, they're broad questions. But on the self-funded platform, there would be a need to answer a health question, a health questionnaire. And I use Easy Apps on that as well, because Easy Apps will pull all the health questions from all the carriers I want to quote. And the employees go into Easy Apps and they just answer health questions one time. And then Easy Apps puts them on the Aetna application, the Humana application, the All Savers application, the Star Mark application. And so Easy Apps allows us to answer health questions. They just do it one time, and then it puts it on 5 or 6 or 7 different insurance carriers' applications if we're looking at self-funded. And so I do like to use Easy Apps in the quoting process too, because otherwise you have to have employees answering health questions in 5 or 6 different apps, and that ain't going to happen. So I do like the Easy Apps process for the pre-quoting. If we're going to look at self-funding, I mean, but I don't want to look at self-funding until I see what the GRX quotes look like.
Okay.
I mean, if GRX comes in low, it's probably because you're pretty healthy. We
And
might
have
want to
some
look at
flexibility,
some of the
right,
self-funded.
Right, right.
Okay.
I mean, if you see what I mean.
Now, would you do a brokerage type analysis like that for a fee?
Analysis how?
To give us an idea of what we're looking, I mean, we don't know what plans the employees are gonna sign up for if we give them a choice. But ahead of that, we have no way of gathering that data and making an analysis of where we stand as far as what the GRX shows, you know what I mean?
Well,
But you have that ability.
The GRX will not release the medications and stuff like that to us. I mean, we will not know what conditions they have
So it
based
just
off
comes
of
from
the
the
GRX.
insurance, it just comes from the provider,
It
the
comes from
insurance
the
company.
the pharmacy database. Yes, it's a database, a pharmaceutical database. We will not know what the employees have for sure. I mean, the different insurance companies will get a little more information, and they can tell us, well, this med, that typically, now see, some meds can be used for 2 or 3 different things though.
Mm-hmm.
But they'll guess on the worst
There's
one.
a range, yeah,
Yes.
there's a
Mhm.
range, yeah. Okay.
And so the GRX will come back with a firm rate. If it's low, I assume, this is my analysis, and it's not a very detailed analysis, if you get a good GRX quote, you're probably pretty healthy on the prescriptions.
Mhm.
So
Which gives
then,
you more flexibility.
if you want to look then, we can look at the self-funded, because I would be of high hopes
Right.
that you're a pretty healthy group, and I might get lower quotes yet
Right.
from a self-funded product.
Okay.
But I don't like to waste your time. I mean,
No, but I think I'd say we need about 2 weeks, because we're gonna have a lot of
Yeah.
discussing to
Mhm,
do, and
mhm.
we're really up in the air with our HR situation right now. So if we could get back to you within the next 2 weeks, then we could get something started and get rolling, so.
yeah, all I need is, so see, I already got all your information. I mean, I know your plan designs. I mean, I know the premiums on those. All I need is a census.
Okay. I'll write that down.
I mean, that's all I need to get started with GRX. And then what I do is I send that census out to the self-funded companies too. They will give me a base rate. It's a rate that's filed with the state. It's just a base rate though. It's not based on any health conditions.
Mm-hmm.
So, I can pre-look at the self-fundeds. If they're coming in higher than a GRX quote from Blue Cross or United Healthcare, there's
Then
no
we
reason
already
to do
know.
it.
Right, right.
But if they're way under, but a GRX maybe comes in
That
150
changes.
less than the state,
I understand.
we may want to look at doing the self-funded. I mean, it's a process of elimination.
Yes, yeah, I
I
understand.
mean, it really is.
Well, thank you for your time. I
Okay.
appreciate you coming.
Well, thank you. I appreciate
safe
you
trip
back.
being
Thank you,
out.
thank
Mhm.
Okay. Maybe we want to do a recess until the interview.
Carol's here, why don't we let her talk for a few minutes?
Okay,
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, then
okay.
we can have a
We're gonna have to do that in executive session, so, okay.
I'm Carol Troy. I was here before in August.
Hi.
Yeah, hi Randy.
Hi.
Talk about Lincoln Park Manor.
Okay.
My mom is there. And just another comment, appreciate your, the budget, going over the hospital budget. I think that's, you know, you were asking good questions, and I think questions that needed to be answered.
Thank you.
And so I'm concerned too about, with Lincoln Park Manor, how that feeds, you know, into the hospital and affects that. And so I was just, you know, I was here 10 months ago and just kind of needing an update on what the plans are for moving forward. AL closed, and as you know, I don't know if you, Pastor Kay was here, but she experienced all the tears and the upset and everything that goes with that. And now we have 35 vulnerable elderly folks living there. And that, you know, they're all upset about that and wondering when the next shoe will drop. And so I, you know, as a heartfelt comment, I just want to employ you to think about if that was your grandmother or if that was me.
What he did to them was terrible. Terrible.
What, who did?
It doesn't matter if it's my grandmother or not. I mean, I went up there and visited those folks.
What, who did?
Mr. Grace, the owner of the company.
Now, come on. We're not going to start blaming John Grace. You guys hired him. You
No,
brought...
but he shut his
actually,
system
wait a
down,
minute, wait. I need to intervene here. There is no hiring process, ma'am. He runs a company, and he bought a company that was our tenant.
Yes.
And he got.
No,
you
you brought him to town. Let's
No,
go
no.
over the facts.
Yeah, let's do.
You brought him to town.
I'll tell you exactly what happened. I called K-Dad's. I called
No, I
the
don't need to
office
hear
at
what
K-
happened. I know
Wait
what
a minute.
happened.
You're not going to come here and tell me that you don't need to hear if you're asking me to have
I've
a
read-
conversation at the table.
Yes, but please listen to what my story, and then you can correct me.
No, you wanted the facts, and you just accused me of doing something that was not true. I called K-Dad's. I said, we need help. Our county is about to drop $2.5 million on a remodel with no financial information from this place whatsoever. Well, I'm sorry,
Right,
we
and
cannot
that's
get-
you
Wait a
own the
minute.
building. You
We
own
didn't-
the whole
but
business.
We didn't do that
We own the
plan.
business,
didn't-
we own the building.
We do
The
not-
building.
The business is Mr. Grace's.
That's right.
And he
But you
he
hired-
shut that down. We cannot tell him how to run
We have
the
no
the
ability.
critical care. No, we can't. But look at our lease. Alexis is right. Look at our lease. All we do is run the facility and fix the roof, which we need to now, and the stuff like that. Really, part of the lease says he shut down assisted living.
Who
We-
hired Kristen?
Huh?
Who hired Kristen? to
He
run
did.
it?
Mr. Grace did.
No,
Mr.
before
Grace
that.
purchased her business and then simultaneously hired her to
But
run
who
it.
hired Kristen before John Grace hired her?
She was running her own business. Nobody hired her. She was
So
running her own business. She owned Lincoln Park Manor Incorporated. Okay, it's a corporation.
Okay.
And the corporation was started by Kristen Robinson. She started her own corporation as a partnership.
But how did she get into the
wasn't
building? You guys leased the building
Well, we
to her?
leased her. We leased it.
She signed a
Just like
lease
we have a
with the
lease now
prior
with John
commission.
for 3-year lease.
Okay.
In May of next year, it's going to end. 3-year lease where he manages the nursing
And
home.
who oversees John Grace?
He owns his own business.
He owns his own business.
No,
And
but
You
all
guys
we-
don't monitor what he
No,
does?
not
Well,
at all, ma'am. No.
But we
Not
really
at all.
don't because he's.
We have a contract with him, and it says he must pay us rent, and we must give him the building.
he hasn't been paying
And when
rent.
something happens in the building, like a sewer leak or something goes down,
Yeah.
a toilet,
The
a
facility.
refrigerator, I mean,
Yeah, I
We-
understand
We
that.
can't
Yeah.
tell him. We can't
There
tell
is
him how to
no
manage.
relationship between
by
the
our lease, we
commission
can't
and
tell
the
him how to
business.
manage that Lincoln nursing home. We really can't. Here, I'll show you the lease. I thought.
No,
that-
I understand
No,
that.
so he runs the place.
Common misconception.
So what
Very
he
common.
did.
No,
is-
I know. It's
And we
the
only had
building.
5 people in assisted living, and 2 of
The
them
census
came
was
over, and then he
down.
says there's
Yeah,
only 3, and he couldn't keep it open. But he managed that. We didn't have no input on none of that.
So then, how did he find out that Kristen was selling her business?
Well, back then, I don't know. I was-
Okay, so I'll tell you what happened. I called K-Dad's and I said, my county is about to drop $2.5 million on a renovation plan with no financial information for this business. We don't know if it's going up, it's going down, if it's just maintaining a plateau. And they said, well, ma'am, you can't get the financial information for a private business. And I said, okay, I guess that's probably true. And I said, do you have any consultation services through the state that you could come in and tell us what we can do? Because we own the facility, and in other counties, the county's name is on the license, okay? Here's where Lincoln County made their mistake. We've never been on that license. That license has been passed from private owner to private owner to private owner.
No, it's not great.
So I made-
He has a license.
So when I was on the phone with the K-Dad's office personnel, they gave me the name of John Grace. John Grace Consult, da-da-da-da-da. He had a website, which by the way no longer exists, that he said he was a consult option for nursing home care, elderly living care, et cetera, et cetera. I said, oh, this is great. Let's have him come and do a presentation. I called the hospital. I called, I called Chris. I didn't contact Kristen, or someone did.
Who?
But Kristen Robinson, who owned
Oh,
the nursing home.
no.
I called several healthcare facilities locally, and I said, someone from the someone who was recommended by the state, I should qualify because he's not a personnel in the state. Someone who was recommended by the state said he'll come and do a presentation. So we met at the hospital. He did a presentation about all the new trends in senior living care, okay? A week later, he was showing up at the commission, arm in arm with Kristen Robinson, proposing to do some other big project, which you can go back and see. I filmed all
No,
his
I believe,
presentations.
no, I know.
He had all these ideas, okay?
Yeah.
Well,
The
as
Green
the
House thing, right?
right, and
Yeah, I'm
as,
never gonna do that, but that didn't go through.
well, as the ideas unrolled, he started asking for the county to fund those ideas. Well, the commission never agreed to that, but we did sit through several presentations of his, okay? Next thing we know, he and Kristen Robinson are at the table presenting us a sales agreement. He purchased her business. That was had nothing to do with the commission.
Right.
And then he propositioned the commission. Will you now rent to me? I'm going to buy Lincoln Park Manor. Will you rent to me?
Yes.
Aljo Wallace and Terry Finch said yes.
Mhm.
I said no. I didn't bring him here to buy a business. I brought him here to give a presentation. So let's get that off the table, because those, ma'am, are the facts.
Okay.
Okay.
Now, John had suggested, so when I was here in August, I reported about the Smith County, the same plan went to the Smith County Commissioners. And Terry said, and I said how the commissioners there were working with John Grace. Well, guess what? Their greenhouses opened about a month ago. They followed his plan. They appointed a nonprofit, a board. The commissioners appointed it. I know you guys didn't like, Aljo and Terry and Alexa didn't like the board, but I told Aljo, I said, appoint your own board. Work with him. Work
Wait a minute, but
with
wait a
John. To set up a nonprofit.
Yes,
And
there
then
was a group of
fundraising,
people.
you could get all
But
kinds of money
Let's
to come in.
qualify what happened though, please.
Okay,
The nonprofit came, the self-formed nonprofit came to the commission
right,
and requested us to buy Lincoln Park Manor and give it to them. That is not the same as establishing a board that is county appointed to run something. We were requested to buy a corporation. You can't do that.
no, I
Yes, we
understand
were.
that.
We were,
No, okay.
yeah.
So if you were requested, my understanding is that you were asked, you didn't like the board that he had,
So
so,
we did not approve of purchasing a corporation. That's what happened. It had nothing to do with the board. There was no board. Those people were a group of volunteers who came forward who said, if you buy John Grace's business, we'll run it. That's not us appointing a
And
board.
Carol, by,
But you weren't here for that.
well, but I know since, no, but there was Jim Gableman in that group. The thing is, we've been through this with our attorney, and that I don't think the state would have allowed us to get the license and have them manage it, since they have not managed. Now, I know Jim Gableman says he has a license for this, he's told me that. But since our attorney said they didn't know if the state would turn that over to manage a nursing home without prior experience of doing that. So we had Jim Gableman and some other volunteers, and we like to have them here.
No.
But that was an issue with the state, and our attorney who deals from the state, that's one reason I think you guys didn't go with Jim Gableman and that to take that over. It wasn't that we didn't like Jim Gableman and them guys to do that, it's just that we didn't think the state would allow them to operate it with our license, because they didn't have nursing home operations experience.
well, the way I understood it was that, John, they ask you to form a
Nonprofit organization. Well, that's what he wants
There
to
was
do
no
now.
buying or
No,
selling.
we were not asked to form a nonprofit. The group of people who came to the meeting said
Yes.
they were a nonprofit. They said that they were in the works
Well,
of
but
getting
that's
their-
not the conversation I had with Aljo.
Well, you can go back and watch the meetings. You'd have to look through, if you get on the county website, you can go through the minutes. And if you go through the minutes, you can find where we did a big presentation that day up in the courtroom.
Yeah, a presentation, but the next step then was, you're like, okay, let's keep moving forward. We listened to the whole thing. The next step was to form a nonprofit board,
No,
just
if-
like the hospital.
That's not a nonprofit board. That's
What
not
is it?
It is a county-appointed board. They are actually an extension of this commission. When the
Okay,
commission,
so why couldn't we do the same for Lincoln Park
we
Manor?
can,
We can.
we can,
But why haven't we done it?
because it comes down to the license, okay? Like I told you,
Grace owns the
all
license,
other
yeah.
counties have their
But then he
name on
could
the
work,
license.
then he
Well,
could
we've been
work.
in discussions with
He
him.
can sell
We-
us his license,
we've
or
been
he
in
can
discussions.
actually give us his license.
And we've been in
If-
discussions with him
Yeah, I
about
know.
buying his stock and then, but the thing is, there's issues with that. He's wanting like 70,000 now for the license, which maybe, but then also, with stock, but also if we did that, we maybe would have to take on his accounts payable, and there's some like 200,000 to 300,000 out there on
A
that.
government
And we don't know,
entity-
we don't wanna have that issue. So we've been talking about this.
I know you guys have, and I appreciate it.
A
You know, the
government
thing is that
entity-
Kristen's books were not accurate, and so that was something that, I don't know, if the, you know, Terry and Terry
Al
Finch
Joe.
and Al Joe should have been checking her books, just
We
like,
can't though, that's what I'm trying to tell you.
It was a private company?
Yes, she's a private company. Lincoln Park Manor is a private company, okay?
Yeah.
Once upon a time, Kristen Robinson owned Lincoln Park Manor. Now, John Grace owns Lincoln Park Manor.
yeah.
And any finances that they have, or any paperwork that they have about their finances, are not our property. If you have county finances, that's public information. But that has never been, in all the years since 1962, it's never been a county-run facility.
All we
There's
do
the
is
difference.
own the building and
Own the
lease the
building.
facility to him and
Yeah.
fix the roof and stuff and that. And we do have input with him. I've been calling with him.
I
wanting to
know.
keep working. But we can't, as a board, Alexis, I and Al Joe, cannot say, you gotta keep assisted living open, John. We can't do that because
No.
actually the lease even says
We
we
can't
cannot
interfere with the way he
interfere with
runs
his
his
operations.
business.
It says that in the lease. I get you a copy. And I didn't know that either till Alexis and I pointed it out about a month or so ago.
Yeah.
We cannot tell him how to operate that place. That's by the lease.
But okay, so let's just go to the greater good. I mean, we can argue all day.
Excuse me,
Yeah.
one second. Dawn, before you leave, but could we give the questionnaire to the interviewee whenever, because it's going on. Okay.
You know, so let's just rise above who was wrong, who was right, what happened. We have 34 elderly individuals out there. Most of them they have Alzheimer's, they have memory issues. We have to keep that place operating until they're all gone, I guess, because evidently this community, I don't know if they want a nursing home or not.
Oh, I think everyone
But
wants a
I
nursing
think
home.
we have to stop pointing fingers and do what's right. Do what's good. Have a heart.
Well, we're trying to.
I'm not sure what that means because
Because we can argue who was right, who was wrong, who
No,
was
it's
this,
just
who
a
was
matter
that.
of
But
what-
we get nowhere. We waste money on attorneys
we
and
did waste money on
accountants.
an attorney. I will agree with you 100%.
Yes.
But the only reason why we needed an attorney is because we were being asked to do something that we're not even allowed to do. And
Well-
then we were receiving public backlash just like this. And I am thankful you're at the table because I appreciate people who bring any kind of comment, concern, anything. And it can be negative all at once too. Again,
Well, I don't try to be negative.
You're not being any kind of...
I'm speaking from my heart.
But the status is right now, the nursing home's not gonna close, at least not in the near future. I know because assisted living went down, people think this is too. First of all,
It is. There's no way you guys can keep it open.
But wait a minute,
Yeah,
but I'm still going to go back to
there's
this
multiple
though.
ways we can keep it open. We got 35 people in there.
But wait a minute, I'm going to go back to the issue. We have a lease. Have you read the lease?
No.
Okay, if you ask Dawn, she can just get you a lease. It's public information, okay?
Right.
The lease says we are the county and he is the leasee
Right.
renting our building.
Yes.
The county has nothing
I
to do
understand that.
with running the business. But
I
I'm not
understand
sure
that.
why you're saying that we need to have a heart. We've had a heart. He has not paid rent in over a year.
Because of the community. He's been made out to be the bad guy. People are going to other towns, Beloit, Ellsworth, wherever, with their elderly people. The census is down. Who wants to move in there? If my mother now needed nursing home care, I'd take her to Ellsworth or Beloit.
I'm not sure why that's the commission's responsibility. He runs the business. That's not our responsibility.
It is. You are part of the community. You are not separate. You're not.
Wait a minute. We are a landlord that's not receiving rent.
Yes.
Okay.
But you came from a bigger community in Pennsylvania. This is a small, heart of the mid-America town and community. We care for each other. We care about each other. We don't care if you're Sylvan or Lincoln or whatever. This is my dad, back in the 60s, the Lions Club got involved. They volunteered. They brought a flag, new flag. They installed it. It was called the Good Samaritan Home. And Randy knows, he goes back almost as far
When
as...
this was opened?
Yes. And it was for all of these people that are
Well-
now gone. And
Well, that was run by a nonprofit then, Good Samaritan Company.
Yeah.
It was a nonprofit.
But
And that
it's
was,
still not the county.
but
though.
still not the kid.
That's-
I understand
You
that,
got,
guys.
no,
I'm
we,
just
and we do
trying...
care. And first of all, it isn't gonna close, no restrictions. He tried to, well, the thing is, he could say 90 days, he could shut it down. But if that happened, we can sue him,
Have the
just
county
block
or
it.
have the
The
state come
state would step in. The state has
Yes.
stepped in 22 other ones. We checked this out.
I
And
know.
I know, we've been working, Alexis and I,
Yeah.
have been working on getting new management
So let's-
outfits, looking into
But
it.
nobody's gonna come in
Let's
here. Look at the guy you had, Pam, what's her name's brother-in-law. You know, he's not interested in coming here to run it.
Well,
Who's
some
gonna
are,
run
though.
it?
Well, there's
He's
some
out of
are.
state.
Give me a name of people that you've talked to that are willing to come in.
We have 3 management firms who we're currently talking to
And do
about.
they have give you any hope that, oh yeah, we'll have somebody come in and manage it?
Yes, that's what they do.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and the
they're,
state,
they're,
and even if worse came to worse, the state would keep it open and then get someone, they did it down several places.
They're still
And
doing
I
that
was
in
saying
Wilson.
too, that some of them closed, we researched this though with this K-Dad's, who was that lady that's an expert on this? But no, all of them only, on the 22, the state kept them open,
Brown,
passed them on to
Mrs. Brown.
new management, and there's only one that closed, and that was because the facility down in Coffeyville or somewhere in southeastern Kansas, and actually the building was not functional, and they had to close it because of the building.
Yeah.
So otherwise, all 22 other ones, like I've been
Yeah.
stating, it ain't gonna close. Now, we could say, the thing is, I don't know if it will, we may have to ask for a subsidy in a vote coming up in the fall, because some companies may say, you're not making enough profit for if we come in as a business, we can't make a profit, we ain't gonna run it. And we may be at that point, so we may have to do some kind of subsidy, but we could put that to a vote to the fall, and some people may be against that, I don't know.
So
But-
let's
but
talk
that's
about it.
where-
Let's
that-
talk about it like this. She's talking about the community being supportive. Okay, we'll go there. The community, with tax money, built that building. Okay,
Yes.
everybody at that time who had put into their taxes in any way, shape, or form, I don't care if it was
I'm still
a
paying
vote.
for it.
Right.
Yeah.
You
Well, we pay
put
it.
in money and the community built the building. Now, ever since then, the community has been paying for the roof and the sidewalks and the
We have
hand railings and the toilets.
$120,000 budgeted every year just for fixing the facility.
Right, the community has been nothing but supportive of paying for that facility. But what you're talking about is the way that the business is being operated. The county and the community can't operate that business. And so if the county had been on the license,
Then maybe
that'd
we
be a
could.
different
Well,
story.
we couldn't.
But we're not.
If we had the license, like she just said, then we could just maybe hire and have a board, like the hospital board, but say nonprofit, then get a hired administrator, then administrator could hire, or hire maybe a management company or administrator, then they could manage it. And hopefully maybe that's what'll come out of all this.
Yeah. Okay, I just want to let you know that Mother was being taken down the hall for a shower. 3 days ago, there was a snake in the hallway. They've had several snakes, big ones.
Because of the water table rising.
I don't care what it is. If something happens to one of these, or the mold in the ceiling, the roof hasn't been repaired, the water softener took 8 weeks. You guys are talking about taking care of the facility?
We paid for
You-
that.
8 weeks! The poor people
Well,
with
we yelled-
dementia
I'm not
thought
sure.
their dishes were dirty.
Well, I yelled at Mike Street for that
Yeah,
about 3
we're on the
times,
street.
Carol. And also, the roof, we're working on the roof, we have to get
For
insurance.
how long?
It takes
My
time.
God!
The roof is, but
So
the-
they show up, I'm just telling you, they show up with issues with breathing and lung and oxygen. They get bitten by a snake, a spider, and you guys are gonna have more of a problem than you ever thought you'd have. Because I'm gonna make sure that my mother is taken care of. And if
Well,
this
that's really
But that
building,
goes back to
this
Mr.
county
Grace's-
not going to have a nursing home in the
Carol, that-
future.
right,
Gonna
that's
be.
exactly right,
Yeah.
because you guys aren't taking care of your building.
Ma'am,
Don't put it
ma'am,
on me.
Ma'am, if we have insurance for the building and we're still in communication with the insurance as to
To
how
fix
they're
the
gonna
roof.
cover that roof, I'm not sure what you want us personally to do with that.
we
That's why
are.
we pay the insurance.
They were up there, insurance is getting, we're waiting on them to get, then
They-
they can say what they're doing so we get a contractor to fix it. And we've been having rain and snow for 6 months, you know that. So we can't get up there. And also
I'm
with the
just
snake,
saying.
and with the snake, that goes back to the manager, Mr. Grace. He runs, He hires people, janitors and stuff, to take care of that, not us.
Right.
That snake climbing out ain't our business.
Jonathan was here for 8 times to talk to you guys about the softener.
No, that's not true.
And, yes, he was. It was in the
Twice,
paper.
twice.
It was in the paper.
That-
Well, 8 weeks. It took
8
8
weeks.
weeks.
That may be true, but that, again, we pay the bills. We don't schedule the maintenance there.
But
I
see,
mean,
you
that's
guys, okay, the operation is John Grace's, the building is yours.
Yes.
But you're having problems you're not accepting responsibility.
Yeah, we
How is
are.
that not? How,
Nothing's getting fixed. What about the fire doors? They haven't been repaired.
Well, that's an issue with the company. We already approved, the payment has already been
That's-
approved and
then-
deducted from the
Then
budget.
you guys need to be on their tail and say, okay, if it's not fixed within 2 weeks, we're gonna
Okay,
take measures.
who needs to coordinate the hours? Who needs to coordinate where the residents are going? Who's hauling them through the hallways? When the construction is taking place? The safety precautions within the hallways? That is not on us. That is on the operational
Exactly.
management up there. So they've
But-
also lost their maintenance person.
Yeah,
and
because they
transitioned
didn't
into-
want to deal with the county commissioners. They'd had it.
Well, isn't that interesting? Because he gets hired by the company that we pay to come and
Yeah,
do work
but
there.
he gets paid much hour. He's 8 to 5, and he doesn't have to come in here and
So the company
wait
that's
for
getting
8.
paid is gonna send the same guy who was on our lease as a maintenance person
And that
to
may
handle all
happen.
of that.
That may happen.
He just did, he came up there. and
Well, I'm
fixed it.
sorry, but that's fraudulent.
You could. I mean, we
Well,
have
we-
the citizens, concerned citizens of Lincoln County. Well, you know what? They can talk about all the mileage checks that were inappropriate, but this town, Lincoln Park Manor, is going to eventually go. It's going to affect the hospital. There are going to be no schools and no businesses in this town. You write it down. You put it in the minutes.
That's a fear
Because
mongering.
you're-
That's a fear mongering that I'm not willing to play into.
It's not fear
It
mongering.
is. It
It's
is. I just
true.
told you we have 3 companies who manage places just like this.
And the state finds out the condition of that building, and they're going to close it.
The
So
state makes regular inspections. and
yeah, they
has to be
actually just
authorized
had
by
an
the
inspection not too long
And
ago.
we're working on
I'm sorry to
the,
yell and
we're
get
working on the,
No, it's
and
okay.
the
I
fire
understand
doors. But the fire doors too,
Somebody's doing a lot of rumor.
we've been dealing with that.
And so is everybody else.
Okay, so
Instead of rumors and pointing fingers,
let's
people
go
need.
back. Let's go back to a few things. Okay?
Those citizens
We're in the middle
need
of
to-
a lease. We're in the middle of a lease right now. The lease is for 3 years. Okay, so Mr. Grace's lease is up next end of May, I
May.
believe. Okay, so we have less than a year now, and at any given time in the lease, it states he can give us a notice. So if he is so frustrated and is so financially in debt, as he has explained to us before, he can walk away. All he has to do with the state is sign his name on the dotted line for the child paperwork, and the state will transfer the license to the county. It's that simple. We already verified this with the licensing department in KDADS. So if it's as bad as you're saying, and you really want the county to take control, then all he has
No,
to do
I'm
is
just
sign
saying-
on the dotted line and walk away. Sign on the dotted line and walk away. That is an option that he has. That's not an option that we have. Do you see what I'm saying? We don't have that option. We own the building. We're going to own the building until we sell it. I'm not saying that's happening, just as if. So we don't have the option to walk away. He has the option to walk
And
away.
he's not walking away. He's trying to work with
So
you
then
people.
why are you so concerned about the state of situation up there? If he's not walking away, then it must not be that bad.
The AL closed because the census is down.
Yeah, but he hasn't
Again,
tried to,
that's
he hasn't
his
tried to
business.
promote getting more people in there. That
Yes,
place-
yes,
That place
he
can
did.
hold 9 people. No, he hasn't, Carol, because Beloit's full, Ellsworth's full. That place can hold 9
Because
people.
because people around here, and if you're on the different ends of the county, you're going to go to Beloit. You're going to go to Ellsworth. If my mom wasn't already here, I would have her in one of those facilities. And especially, this has been going on now for almost 3 years. And why would you come in here in this nest and then wonder day to day? All the good nurses, not all the good nurses, a lot of the good nurses have left for other jobs. They've seen the writing on the wall. And that gets out. And then everybody's made blame John Grace. John Grace is recognized nationwide and statewide.
And why ain't he paying his rent for the last
Because he hasn't had any census.
But now, but
His rent is
we're-
based on the census.
We're
and
about ready
he-
to sue him, Carol, because he's breaking the lease law of not paying his rent. We could sue him for that. He's the one not paying rent, and he don't give me this excuse. He says, well, we need to fix the roof. We do. But that the building's still in code. He's still operational. So he's breaking the lease by not paying $3,400 a month. Now, what the hell's that about? Is that he's whining that he wanted 10 more bins or
There
something.
are many vendors, local people that run businesses that you depend on that he owes money to.
If I have a contract with you,
People won't do it.
Exactly,
Because
people
he's
don't
not
want to do
paying
business
them.
with him because he does poor business with our neighbors.
if I had a
Our other
contract with
community
you and
members.
I'm gonna lease your house for $3,400 a month and I ain't paid you in 8 months, you're gonna go after me. Well, that's what we're thinking about doing with him. Now, and I know
Plus, we put in a $500,000 renovation last year.
maybe the facility isn't up to par right now, but it's still up to code. We
But
haven't
we
had no
did
issue.
spend a $500,000.
And that doesn't give him an excuse
What
to break
hasn't
the
been
lease.
done for the last 10 years can't be fixed by us overnight. We did allocate over $500,000.
And we're trying to get the
that
roof
project.
fixed. I've just asked Don this morning, we're waiting on our insurance, because before they're gonna pay for it, because it's still part of the hail deal that wasn't fixed, and we gotta wait on them before we can get this contractor set up. So we're trying to do stuff, but everybody stops us.
Yeah.
I mean, and we're gonna try to get that roof fixed and them doors. I talked to John today about these doors, and Babcock had the information supposedly.
I've given Greg Babcock and Jonathan Shell the information, which is go to the engineer that was hired for $70,000 and get some schematics and give them to the door company. That's all they want. All they want are the drawings
And
to
I
know
think-
the
think
fire
we're-
rating of the walls where the doors
But
will
in
go.
the meantime, can he get the approval to put something underneath the doors to keep the snakes out?
Well, but that's him.
Well-
He's running the place. We're not. That ain't our job.
That's not it's your building though.
But that's a maintenance issue. Maintenance,
Yes.
washing the floors and cleaning the sinks isn't our job. He pays the maintenance people to do that, Carol. Well, then talk to him once. Give him some crap.
I'd like to know.
You're his
is
friend,
the-
you know him,
is
and
the-
I don't have nothing against John. I've talked to him a lot.
I know.
I'm trying to work with him. She knows it, now Joe knows it. But they're right that he hasn't been doing this stuff too. Don't let's point fingers at one
Let's
side
go
here.
back to the Smith Center comment. Okay, so you say these things are progressing in Smith Center. Is that facility owned by the county?
I don't know.
I don't
Well,
know.
there's number one. Okay, you can't compare apples to oranges. If he went in and had an independent group
He
do a
worked,
project,
well, he worked with the commissioners there.
but did they give him money?
I
Who's
don't
on the
know.
hook for the debt? Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, there are a lot of unanswered questions that we can't compare ourselves to another project because we've been asked to buy a corporation, which we cannot do unless we turned it into a nonprofit, okay? But we cannot do that just as a corporation. And if we did purchase the stock of a corporation, that comes with the accounts receivable and the accounts payable. And the last we've heard, that's $500,000.
Well, I heard 300,000 last time I was up
I'm
there.
throwing numbers out there from the presentation that was
Yeah,
given.
and also, no, she's right,
So
Carol.
that's what the proposition
Yeah.
was. Buy our stock from Lincoln Park Manor.
Then we get the license.
Maybe, it didn't even say that in writing.
Yeah.
And here's the concern. If it is in such financial dire straits, as Mr. Grace has written to us on paper, how can the county afford to do that? We can't make a commitment to pump in hundreds of thousands of dollars every year. We're not even allowed to increase our budget by more than last year, it was 1.44%. So we wouldn't even be able to allocate enough money in next year's budget to fill that gap if there is that type of a gap.
Unless we would put on the ballot.
public vote.
A public vote to say we want 4 mills or something.
Like we do the hospital,
Which would be
we
like
give them
200
10.
grand.
Yeah.
And then if the community votes that in, then we would have that money to maybe help support it. But that's where we're at. We're working on it, but it just.
I know.
But and we're not gonna
I
be closing
understand it's
this thing.
frustrating for you.
Well, it's not gonna be closing this thing. Tell your mom and Doris and all them up there that. I know assisted living closed, so everybody thinks we're gonna close everything. You
But
know, it
let's
ain't
go
that
back
way.
to where that also started. The commission never said that the nursing home was closing. That all came from internally, up there, not here.
I don't think it even came internally. It's
Well, it's just maybe a rumor
No,
in the air.
it came
I mean,
from an
we
email
see-
from John Grace to Kelly Larson. He said, if the commission is not willing to give me some operating expenses, because I'm not gonna make it through the next 90 days, then I may have to close the doors. That's where that started. I have the email. If you'd like it, it's a public document. So I would like to just have some clarification that the commission has not been telling people, well, we're just gonna
No, I
close
know
it.
you guys have.
Well, and also the state, if worst comes to worst, say tomorrow, say he's mad at us, it's good, it's 90 days, gonna close it. Well, we can stall that up, he just can't kick these people out, that's one thing. And also then the state would come in, they have before, we've kind of found that out, I know that
Yeah.
now. So this kid would stay open, it may be a sloppy transition, but it would stay open. So don't
And
be,
the transition to having a management company come in, they usually do it on a flat 5% of the gross revenue, okay? Which, ironically, Mr. Grace made the same offer. So I'm a little concerned if he's claiming financial destitution to the point where the grocery stores owed money, local attorneys are owed money, our hospitals owed money. I mean, I can't even name all the people that are owed money.
No, I know.
If they're not being paid, but he's willing to stay and make an offer to run it for 5% of the gross, is anyone else confused by that? I've never even heard of such a thing. So you
I
say
think-
not to point fingers, but I'm sorry, I can't help but see that as conspicuous.
Well, and, you know, and I told you in August that, you know, my husband and John met through aging programs in Manhattan, Kansas. Who's chirping up here?
She said, yes, you did say that.
And I couldn't hear, I wear hearing aids, I'm sorry.
we gotta go to it a little
yeah.
bit, Carol.
But, where was I going with that thought?
How your husband met him.
How your husband,
Oh, and so we have seen John operate for 40 years, and he loves the elderly. My husband did too. And so I think this, and this is just my opinion, biased maybe, but he's doing it because he sees 34 vulnerable elderly out there. This was not a moneymaker for him, and there's no way. You don't make money doing what he's doing, and the pain and the suffering and the debt now to hire his attorney. And so that's why I guess I would like to see the community rise above. I understand the finances, I understand you own the bill, I understand all of that. And I don't have a dog in this fight really. My mom's 93, she almost died in February, but thanks to Dragoni she made it. You know, I don't know why I'm so concerned for this community, but I really am.
Many people are.
But the thing is so let's say that closes. That's a $400 hit at the hospital. Well, guess what? You know, they've got 2 doctors to pay for. And so it just escalates.
no.
And the business people downtown, they don't want to stick their neck out because they get their head cut off if they say anything. So, you know, it's like you guys, Lincoln.
What are you proposing that you want us to do?
I guess I just would like everybody to rise above the rumor and the hate and the gossip and the whatever and try to come to some kind of an agreement for the better. Forget John Grace. Come to something that will benefit this county.
Okay.
You guys are going to pay $400. If Lincoln Park Manor closes, you're going to have to pay $400,000 at least to keep the hospital open. In addition to the new salaries. So you've got to look beyond right now. You've got to look 20 years. You don't even have to look that far. 5 years down the road, and you're going to have to go to the taxpayers and say, oh, guess what? We need help to keep the hospital open.
So what are you asking us to do? I see you're saying look down the road, look at this, be open, don't be negative.
Well, what you
I'm
have been
absorbing all
doing
that.
hasn't worked.
What do you want us to do with the money? Because that's our only power. Randy has a power and I have a power, and it's only when our powers combine that we can spend money.
Yeah.
So what? Sorry. Just
Yeah,
a little,
and I think-
interjection of humor.
So then you have
I think
to
we
s-
have more of a plan though for the nursing home than you think. Maybe we haven't been very good about talking about it. I was already wanting to bring Grace in here to have a meeting. Al Joe was wanting to
Did you
about.
send him your correspondence yet?
But I didn't do that because I was gonna.
You have it now.
I was gonna confirm it with. Oh, yeah.
What you were proposing to send to him.
Well, I was just
Remember-
gonna remember those bullet questions.
Yeah.
We was
Yeah, so
gonna
we
ask
just
him
need
to
to
come and
approve
talk
it.
about some issues here because we were still wanting to deal with him too. But
You've-
now that Al
You've been
Joe's
to the
gone.
commission twice in the amount of time that Mr. Grace has not been here at all. So if that tells you anything about the communication,
Well,
we're here every Monday.
but he's not, you know, it's like me. I come and I read the commission, nothing happens. And so until you guys are ready
So
to
what are
sit
you
down
proposing
seriously.
that we do? Again, that's my same question.
I am proposing that you look 5-10 years down the road. you're gonna lose the nursing home. It's gonna affect your hospital.
I
The
don't think
money,
we're gonna lose a nursing home.
Why
the
do we-
money that
why-
you have,
Why do we have to project that we're gonna lose the nursing home? John Grace is out of there in May.
Yeah.
That
We
doesn't
have-
mean,
we have three
but that doesn't
companies
mean
on
we
the
can't
hook
find
that are
someone
willing
else
to
to
come
take
in.
over and run it.
Right.
We
So
will.
why does that mean
We
we
might
have
have
a
to
nursing home?
subsidize it, but we will.
Even if it
absolutely
drops
run
down, even if some of the residents who, I hope their lives are healthy and long as they can be right now, but even if some of those residents pass away in the amount of time that John Grace is still there, and we aren't able to replace them, yeah, we may be footing the bill for that, but when we get a company in there that wants to actually manage it wholly and not put the responsibility on us, they can raise that census right back up and bring it back to a breaking point.
I hope so. I really
I'm
do.
I
just
do, I think it'll be fine. I really do too. No, we've been working on this. You have it closing doors tomorrow. It ain't going to,
Pardon?
girl. You're come across like you say it's gonna close the doors tomorrow. It ain't
Well-
going to. It isn't going to. I know because assisted living closed that for the fear of everybody that the whole thing's going to.
Well, and it
But that
affects,
whole thing's a lot different than assisted living. See, we don't have the rules and control over that assisted living, so he can do that. We do over the rest of it, because we can sue him about keeping that open, and then the state comes in. That's a big deal with that, closing
Yeah.
that critical care and nursing home down.
well, I appreciate your time. I appreciate you listening. I really do. And again, I hope that the concerned citizens of Lincoln County will look at the bigger issues and work together to build up Lincoln County.
Well, you should watch the meeting from last Tuesday, because we had a lot of public comment and people were questioning us. Why have you not moved on this? You should be suing someone who owes you money.
Well, they all want us to sue John Grace.
Yeah.
And I kinda held off on it because I'm trying to want to deal with him yet.
Well, sue him.
Well, maybe we will, but I was wanting to know the ramifications if we do. Is he gonna then do a 90-day? It's already in a chaotic situation. I don't
Yeah.
wanna make it more chaotic. And that's not the only reason Alexis said I didn't wanna agree with suing. I will in the future. I just wanting to try to not make it worse.
Yeah,
If we
it's
can.
like
But
rise
maybe we
above
gotta
it.
do that. Maybe you're right.
I understand your personal concerns, and I am very
And
sorry
it's for
about
the
that.
community.
And I think it's been,
It's not, I
No,
grew up
No,
here.
I know you
But
do.
it's
Yeah,
both,
she's
but
my
it's
neighbor.
both.
We grew up as little
Yeah.
kids together out south, so
Yeah.
we know each other for 60 years.
So I don't have,
50
yeah,
years.
I'm just concerned
No, we
about,
know you are.
about home. This is
Yeah,
home.
I know. Thanks.
and I
And-
appreciate you coming to the
And
table.
I
Yeah.
appreciate all
It's
your
not
time
easy
and
for everyone to
effort.
do.
Well,
I
thanks.
really do.
Thank you.
You got a cute little baby.
Thank you. Thank you.
But a member, maybe she can take up the
She'll be a commissioner in 25
Add her,
years.
add her on.
I think.
Okay, wait, before you go, may I do this? I'm gonna make a motion so we can get some of this business off the
Okay.
table before we'll recess and then we'll do our
Sure.
interview, okay. I move to approve the employment of a Mr. Trinity Hall as a truck driver, starting wage $13.05, pending pre-employment screening completion.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to employ Mr. Hall. Is there any further discussion? If not, those in favor vote aye.
Aye.
Motion carried.
I'll be right
Yeah, go ahead.
And I'll tell Eric to come in.
Okay, and then Dawn, did you happen to follow up on those separate EMS licenses that we talked about?
No, I had time.
So can I do that? Will they talk to me or?
I told you. I see them in contact.
Okay, I'll start. I'm going to recess us for 10 minutes. In the meeting. I believe we have addressed everything we needed to address today in the open session. Dawn, did you have anything else that needs to come before the board in the open session? Okay. And out of curiosity, those were the only two benefits companies that we were going to hear from, correct?
There's a third.
There is
This
one.
guy called last week, so I said you might as well.
Yeah. Okay, but there will be another one,
There's a,
so we can talk after that. Okay, just wanted to check that off the list.
Pinnacle is what I think it's called.
Okay. Any other public comment before I close the meeting? Okay. At this time, we are going to conduct an interview for the open position for the Emergency Services Director. So, I guess,
Want me to make a motion?
yeah, do you want the papers over here if you can?
I got one
Okay.
cheat sheet here. I wanna make a motion to, go into executive session for, how long?
I believe we need
Half
four,
hour?
yeah,
45 minutes?
we could do a half, we've been doing 45 minutes, right? Is that what, okay, let's do the.
Okay, move to go into executive session for 45 minutes for the purpose of discussing, personnel matters with, employer-employee negotiations, whether or not in consultation with the representative or representatives of the public body, pursuant to KSA 754319 2B number 3, and to meet Mr. Derek Walter. And with the commission, do we want Don?
Yes.
The county clerk and Mr. Derek Walter. And to reconvene back in the courthouse in the commissioner's room when completed.
Okay, the subject is to conduct an interview.
Subject to conduct an interview for the emergency management director's position. Emergency medical, not management. Emergency, EMS director. No, you're not interviewing for David Doe's job right now, huh, Derek? Okay. For the purpose of meeting, to interview for the EMS director position. Is that it?
Yes, I will second. It's been moved and seconded to enter into executive session to conduct the interview. Is there any further discussion? If not, those in favor vote aye.
Aye.
Aye, and motion carries. I'm not really sure.
Teething, do they do that when they're 5 months old?
Some, mine never have yet, they've always been a year, but it just depends. Okay, so I will say that we've interviewed for EMS director, several candidates. We've talked about consolidating jobs, we've talked about a part-time job, we've talked about a full-time job. I think where we are currently is getting prepared to potentially make the decision to have a full-time EMS director and potentially not consolidate based on some of the conversations we've had with job offers in the past. That being said, I would like to just make the comment that I don't think it's beneficial to the county to not prepare to consolidate jobs. And I've made that argument before.
I agree with you, but I think it's the point.
I'm not saying now's the time necessarily with the situation that we're in and the candidates that we have. And the one consolidation that was on the table was HR, EMS, which I don't think is a great combo. You know, it was a potential individualized scenario. I think a better combo would be emergency services in conjunction, you know, emergency services, emergency management, overlapping the emergency side of it rather than some personnel in the courthouse with someone who's expected to work in the field too, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think, I mean, long-term, the county needs to consider consolidating some of this, and just like we're talking about outsourcing some of our HR responsibilities, you know, that really reduces the need for the HR position from full-time. Do you not agree? I think a lot of the time, not a lot, we have that payroll designated time at the end of the month, but then a lot of that other HR time would be figuring out each individual's benefits, talking to them about it, keeping track of it with their payroll, et cetera, et cetera. If we're gonna be outsourcing that, then maybe we need to talk about changing the HR role to part-time or even outsourcing altogether. I don't know how you feel about that. I'm kind of talking to you
Yeah.
too, Dawn, because it's been
I
on
just
your
know
shoulders, but
right now that, and I know I get criticism from outside on the public with this, but it is not my statutory within my statutory purview to do HR. And I am not knowledgeable enough to do HR. And if I am going to continue to do HR, I need to become knowledgeable or hire somebody that is knowledgeable. A lot of things have changed in the 20 years that I have been clerk, 17 years of that, which we had somebody else doing it. And so with that being said, we either need to outsource or we need to start looking for something, some kind of resource to utilize. I did not get a chance to call Saline County. I still think that might be a potential alternative
yeah.
to see. I don't know if they would be willing or not, but there's just certain laws you have to follow that we need to ensure that we're following.
Right, and there's a lot of attention to detail that's lacking because it's not one person's sole responsibility to make sure that it gets done. So we need to address that. And it can be outsourced. It can be contracted. I think we can keep having that discussion. But we're also waiting on the time clock system to be initiated
Yeah.
because that will give us a better understanding of the lack of time that
Yeah.
we now have
We discussed
invested
that.
in that position.
We discussed that
too.
Friday, yeah.
Yeah.
We get the time clock set up and see how that affects what you're doing. Hopefully you won't have to mess with all these time cards and all that stuff, huh? And maybe it'd be better then, huh?
You know, and right now, the biggest thing is when we get our health insurance bill, we have to, like, literally go through it. Just for example, the health insurance was 5 employees short this month. Why? Nobody really knows, but then you have to call the state and say, why am I missing 5 employees?
And it takes time to even have those
Employee,
conversations.
Yes, that is on an HSA or an HRA, you have to adjust as they get their points through the state system each month. And so there's just, it's very time consuming, that if that was my only task and that was the only thing that I had to do, it wouldn't take that much time. But when you have the phone ringing and people walking in and department heads walking in, it ends up taking literally an entire day just to balance the health insurance bill.
Yeah.
So, you know, those are kind of the aspects. And I mean, I want to try to cut if I can cut, but I also don't want to cut my nose off to spite my face.
Right.
Yeah,
And it, you know, I would like to see how much time the time clock savings or time clock system saves us, and then kind of go from there and see where we're at. And
I agree with that.
you know,
Yeah,
I
me
don't
too.
want to get us into, you know, any potential issues. And right now, anytime we have an issue, I just call Bud with KCAM and just confer with him before I make a decision, just because I am not confident in my skill set.
Well,
Not
that's
that I can't be
understandable.
trained to be, I just haven't attended those types of classes in a very long time.
I think you got enough to do anyway.
The handbook for the county clerk is 469 pages long.
I know, she
That
got a lot.
handbook, she already, I think that Lincoln County has passed Dawn Arlo far too often with things that shouldn't be her job.
I agree.
And she doesn't complain, but it's not her job to do those things.
I agree with you, 1,000%. I tell her that every
Yeah.
day.
Yeah.
I'm not arguing.
I was just making sure.
I
that
want to help
you
her.
understood.
That's why I'm asking, that's why I think Alexis and I are asking her, because you do HR, Dawn. You do the payroll, you know this stuff. So what you would like to see, in my opinion, I would be for, and I would think Alexis maybe too, because you know what needs to be done there, I don't. And Alexis may know a lot more than I do about it, but so that's why I want your opinion on what to do here.
The ultimate thing that I would like to say is whether people agree with it or disagree with it. HR should have never been in the county clerk's office to begin with. It should have always been a department of the county commissioners. And I know that people disagree with that, and I know that you need somebody to overlook it. You trust the health department director to run her department. You trust, you know, the other department heads to run their departments. If I can't control any of the aspects that involve,
It doesn't make any
It's
sense,
department.
okay?
It
It's
does
one
not.
elected official versus an elected official's board. You having control over an employee, which we have no say over their protocol or over their reports or over anything like that, except for the money that they make in their position. So it just doesn't make sense.
and I have no control over the health insurance benefits. And I have
Right,
control
but we
over
do,
the benefits.
right.
That is solely.
So they can't even bring to the board a concern as far as it being directly linked, because you're technically the boss. Yeah, it's but a lot of counties do that, and I think they just throw it on the clerk because you're there every day, whereas we're here once a week, and it's just a convenience thing, which is not fair because you're already answering phones and doing paperwork and all that.
What did you
Right.
think of these two healthcare these
I
deals
think it's
today?
very interesting.
Did you have favor one over the other?
Yeah.
You want to talk about that right now?
Yeah, I will. Let's take the comment
And
first.
lastly, I don't think that the county commission phone number should be answered by her, by Dawn's office, because she doesn't have time to handle your issues.
I know,
So I think that phone number should be rolling over to an answering machine that's direct or
They have my number. They can get hold of me.
Well,
I've heard that a million
I
times.
put out my phone number every
No,
week.
yeah, and I give people my number
But,
too.
but I know,
my former commissioner never did.
yeah.
So unless I wanna find one of those millions of, phone books that are delivered free of charge, I never personally called him.
Yeah.
But we have approached him on a personal level during meetings, and we were completely rebuffed by him. So,
The only thing that I would say about the voicemail, and we could set it up with the voicemail.
But then that
says
becomes
what
your burden too.
Well, what your number is, and then if each of your numbers, which district you're in, and then if they're wanting to get on the agenda, then they could call us. But what I have found with the voicemail is people won't leave the message on the voicemail. Like, I mean, my
Or have
staff
it- or have
member
it
fielded
roll
an
over to-
inquiry because supposedly somebody tried to call 3 times on Friday and we didn't answer the phone. Well, it was there, but if I'm helping somebody at the counter or I'm already on the other phone, I can't pick.
well, you could also have it so that it rolls over to.
You could assign the chair to be
Yeah.
the years
Now,
back.
with our
fall.
current phone system, it won't do that. But
Yeah.
when we get to this
We
new
could
system.
Go to
maybe
one, maybe
look
we'll
at
do
that.
that.
You know, you could just forward it to the chairperson at the time because it rotates,
Yeah.
and then for one whole year you're on the hook to answer the phone or to at least follow up and bring it to the meeting or whatever. So, I mean, there's a little bit of responsibility to that, but really no more than anyone else because we should all be collecting complaints from our own constituents and bringing them to the table.
Why can't you put your phone numbers on the website?
We can,
Instead of having.
we can.
I mean, other counties. do.
Well, I did. I put it on
Yeah.
Facebook. I
Yeah,
could put it
she
on
means
my-
on the-
Have it on the
When
phone.
somebody
the-
wants to
Have it
talk
on
to the
the
Board of
website.
County Commissioners, they usually go through.
Well, it
Oh.
calls 4335, which we answer.
I'll put mine on that.
How many times a week are you getting a call for us? Besides the agenda,
Fridays.
not the agenda, but
I'm not,
Yeah, for the agenda.
I'm not really 100% sure.
But I don't wanna
because
set
don't
the
know
agenda.
whose number they're calling because it eventually, right now, that number is in the Human Resource Office.
yeah,
We
because
thought that would be smart, but that was not smart. But it eventually rolls to us, and so we don't know really where the call is being generated from. Does that make sense?
yeah, okay. Yeah, you don't know the original.
Yeah.
Okay, about the companies that came to present, I would like to hear from this third one. I'm still a little confused about the commission that he makes, the second guy. Did you-
Basically, let's say if the
Well, he
health
gets
insurance
some-
premium was $1,000, he's getting 3% of that. The insurance
From the
company-
insurance company.
Yes.
Yeah.
paid him.
So we agreed to utilize him so that he can charge his commission fee upon our enrollment.
Yeah.
So he gets a one-time fee when we enroll? Like, I'm a little confused as to how you maintain a
Probably-
year-long relationship with someone who gets a commission when you pay.
Well, he'd get it, once per year, then every time you re-enroll, he'd get it again next year.
No, well.
Or does he get it
I think
monthly?
he gets it monthly off
As
the
we
insurance
pay in,
premium.
it pays, okay, I was a little
So they,
confused about that.
they
So-
just added on to what they charge you.
So he was
Yeah.
saying basically we could tack that on to what the total amount is. If we're gonna still pay 90%, then we're paying 90% of his fee too. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's kind of my understanding from some of the companies that have called and, want to give us pricing, is that because I asked the one outright, how do you get your fee? And she says, well, it's built into the premium, so if your health insurance premium, so my estimate is $1,000, then he's getting, is it $30? I don't know what 3% of 1,000
Yeah.
is, but.
$30 on the
My
thousand.
mind is not working right now, but, so he would get $30 per plan, and the insurance company would get $970.
Okay,
But
but our
that's
plan
not-
A is, what do you say he gets, 3%?
Well, just take this, our billing last month was $95,000.
3% of that.
So take 3% of that, and that will tell
It'd be
you.
about.
$28.50.
About 2,800 bucks.
Okay, so,
Times 12.
right,
That's about 25 grand, then. Or about 30 grand, 32.
34 too.
Yeah.
So in that scenario, the first company has a better deal
Yes.
because for a flat fee of his estimate, which I'm sure is not maybe exact but close, they're providing basically similar and what I would argue to be more personal services. Just from the presentation, I can't verify that, but they have more employees, they have this whole dynamic of, they had a breakdown, like this is the breakdown of the
Well,
services.
they're a bigger outfit, you can
Yeah,
tell.
I mean-
They have a lot more personnel.
And I have something against that, because I'm not opposed, I'm more prone to
The other
support
guy
a
is,
smaller company.
yeah, 4 people.
But this is the breakdown of employee responsibilities from them. So you have technology people, you have voluntary benefit consultation, you have compliance issues people, you have communication person, you have health performance analysis done by particular people. So they have an employee for everything, which it's, I mean, you get two, it's two different servings.
So that's kind of an expert on that service, whereas you have, as he said in a second, wants everybody to come talk to him.
Well, he has
Well-
4 employees, and this other place probably has 100.
I'm gonna
I
suggest that we
understand
just go ahead and contact these counties and see what their
That's why I
satisfactory or
would
satisfaction level is.
Contact Cloud for sure.
Cloud?
Cloud, because they definitely,
In Geary
look at a
County,
lot of
he said he
places.
did Geary County as Junction City, right?
Right, so.
He's been doing that, he said, for.
20 years, 20, 25 years.
They,
So the other guy is Elk and Greenwood. So, you wanna split this up? Let's split this up.
you wanna let it call in?
You do this guy's 2 counties and just ask them about their satisfaction with the services and what,
Okay.
how they're utilizing the company. And then I will call this other guy. I wrote down 3 counties, so I'll do that. I wrote down Haskell, Cloud, and,
Republic. and
yeah, Republic. What was the other one?
Geary.
Oh, yeah, Geary. Gary's so big, but
Which
yeah,
is Junction City.
yeah.
I didn't get, you said Haskell was the other one.
Haskell, Cloud, Republic is what I wrote down, and then Geary. And I know there are a few others, but that's a good enough base, I think. So let's start
And
with
this guy here did Elk, Greenwood.
Yeah,
Con-
you ask those 2, and I'll ask the other ones.
Well, the city of Lincoln has them, I wonder how the city
You
likes
can
them.
ask them too.
Downtown here.
Yeah.
All right, I'll deal with it.
if the first
What
one
was
does have,
intriguing about the second guy is that he has the ability to create an individualized self-funded.
Customized
Yeah.
plans, yeah.
Yeah.
I think the other guy kinda could though, too, couldn't they?
sounded like it.
I
I'm
think
not
they
sure.
could, maybe not as
I
real.
think they could, I think they wanna.
He
you know, when
probably
talked to
just
me, he
statistically
wanted
knows
just-
that we wouldn't qualify well for that, I
Well,
would say.
or, you know, you wanna see what it is that your guys' feelings are, where you'd like to go. I mean, I think he could do a self-funded and show you
Yeah.
what the numbers are, if that's what you wanna do.
I just got the impression that we're right on that threshold of whether or not self-funded is financially
Well, he
a
said-
deal. You know.
If you're 50
Well, I
employees
wanna
of a,
scare you away from that too, because we were self-funded.
Oh, and you had the bad experience, so, yeah, yeah. Okay, I'm prepared to make a motion. I move to approve County Clerk Harlow to extend a job offer for the EMS Director at a salaried rate of, where did I write it down? I just made notes, I'm
too much
sorry.
paper.
I know, I'm writing on the wrong paper.
Did you find it?
I'm
Do you
gonna
want
say,
my calculation?
well, I'm gonna go by what I calculated less the projection, 4,100.
That was the per week, and then times 52, and then if you divide that by.
How do you wanna state it, monthly or weekly?
I was gonna go monthly, cause that's how we pay our, is that okay, or the monthly rate? See, I
988 times 4, right?
I was just gonna drop this by the amount that we know is coming back up.
Okay.
So I'm gonna say 4,100 a month.
Okay.
Providers not doing themselves any favors because it's an embarrassment.
Do you understand
Yeah.
what I mean by that?
No.
At the turn of the year, it's gonna be that.
Oh,
But this would be
Oh, we're doing
coming,
less now.
yeah, I'm doing
Okay.
for a second half of the year, and then next year would be
okay.
that full
You're
amount.
already projecting next year.
That's what
And we got a budget.
I'm
for
trying to
next
do
year.
that because we didn't budget for a full-time position. We budgeted for half of that.
Okay.
Do you see what I mean?
But
I
we're
know-
filling it,
I
but
know.
it's filling 2 slots.
I know, but I'm just
know.
trying to,
No, I know
I'm
what
trying
you're
to
doing.
just pinch a few
I realize that.
corners and say,
Yeah.
if we know that that's what we're gonna expect next year, then I'm gonna play out the rest of this year with that number.
Okay,
it was 4,100 a month.
You already done? Make a motion.
I am.
I'll second that.
Okay, is there any discussion?
And I want to make a statement. Mr. Walter is a cousin of mine, and I know that may look like a conflict of interest, but because there's only two of us right now, we need to get it. And I think he's a very qualified individual. I'm voting to, or I'm seconding this motion.
Okay. Any further discussion? If not, those in favor vote aye.
Aye.
And motion carries. I believe.
And there's one, since he talked, we talk hourly with him, kind of, that's what he used to do.
I'm just
He-
asking her to
Yeah,
make
to make
the
the-
offer
yeah.
based on what I said, and if he wants to counter or we need to enter into
Well,
another-
we made it a salary thing, which is okay. I don't think he cares either way. It's just that,
Well,
we maybe didn't point that out. That's not what we were gonna do, because that's the way it works best with us in
he'll
our
have to
budget.
come back and
He'll-
say that he's not interested in that.
No, and I think he
Or
would
you'll
come,
have an option to counter offer.
Yeah.
well, I think he'll be okay with that, because we were talking hourly instead of salary, and I don't think he'll care either way, really. I'm just gonna point that out, that he might not, know that, but I don't think that, once he adds it up to money, it's all gonna be the same anyway, right?
Yes.
Okay, that's all.
Yes.
In other words, I brought up something here I really didn't need to.
I believe that concludes today's business, except we did not get to the job description, which I would like to postpone that. How full are we next week?
We're not very full yet.
Can you do an hour around Michael so that
I can
we can, you know what I mean? If we have something to bring to him, he can already be here, and we're not trying to rush him through in 15
Next
minutes.
week, you mean?
Yeah, that way we can also discuss the job description.
Yeah,
I
and
would
then,
like to.
then finalize that and get that out there too.
Yes.
Yeah, we've been messing around with
Yes,
that too.
yes.
Yeah, that's good, Alexa.
Okay.
I will definitely try.
Anything else, Dawn?
No,
I move to approve the correspondence to be sent by Commissioner Lohman to Mr. Grace,
I'll second.
which is basically there was a request from the commission as to what we'd like to talk about, and he kind of brought up the bullet points, and we
Right.
never officially approved
Right, yeah,
that,
we
so.
did. So now we'll prove it. I'll talk to him.
Yeah.
And, see if he'll wanna come
And then
visit.
he can come and discuss
or not.
those.
Well, but I will
But
send it
based
to
on
him.
what you already showed
Yeah.
me.
Well,
and
already,
said,
yeah, we've already discussed
Okay.
with it. We'll go from there and we'll see what happens.
All right, I'll call for a vote. Those in favor vote aye.
Aye.
None opposed, motion carries. And I will adjourn until June 10th at 10 a.m. Thank you.